The scene opens on a grim, devastated landscape, a world consumed by shadows and bottomless chasms. We zoom in on a young man, a brutal wound gaping in his chest, yet a faint smirk haunts his lips. This brave hero is clearly fighting for his life, but we quickly realize that smirk belongs to a daredevil who lives for the thrill. Even with a face crisscrossed with countless wounds, he squares up to face the source of all this destruction head-on. A grotesque creature materializes, a terrifying figure with the body of a woman, but wielding demonic, unholy powers. This faceless horror fixes its singular, terrifying gaze on our hero. Its body is a writhing mass of limbs, and each arm brandishes a different, deadly weapon. Without a shred of hesitation, the malevolent creature lunges at our protagonist. The power behind its attack is immense, world-shattering, and yet, our blue-eyed warrior stands his ground, ready for whatever it throws at him. Chaos is imminent. It feels like the entire universe is riding on this single fighter. But just before we find out how this epic battle concludes, words begin to scroll across the screen. It looks just like the end of any old adventure book, and to our shock, that's exactly what it was. Our protagonist is just a dude lying in bed, nothing more than a regular kid who has apparently just finished another web novel on his phone. After heaving a deep sigh, Chang Ting, our teenage hero, finally accepts that the story he was devouring has truly ended. Annoyed, he swipes through his tablet to confirm the story is really over, and sure enough, it is. What's more, he's so furious the adventure is done that he hurls the tablet onto his bed in a fit of irritation before his first morning trip to the bathroom. An alert flashes on his tablet screen, but he doesn't see it. It seems our adventure in this magical world is only just beginning. Hours pass, and the next day dawns with a clear blue sky, signaling that a new chapter has begun. Chang Ting appears, dressed sharply in his slick uniform as he approaches the entrance to his school. Our protagonist is instantly irritated by a massive commotion blocking the school gates and immediately assumes it's some kind of protest. However, our blue-eyed teen quickly realizes he must be mistaken. To his absolute shock, as he pushes closer to the crowd, he sees that an entire building has vanished. Ting breaks into a cold sweat, unable to believe what his eyes are showing him. A colossal building was supposed to be standing right there. An empty void has taken its place, and what seemed like a normal day in a teenager's life has taken on alarming proportions as Chang Ting stands there, completely paralyzed. Trying to process what happened, he notices the crowd around him is starting to erupt in panic. But the young man is rational and tries to cling to logic. Maybe some new demolition company is running tests. Walking slowly, the teen makes it to his school and heads toward classroom number 16. The moment he opens the door, Chang is brutally shocked by an unrecognizable creature that leaps right at him. However, to our surprise, it isn't some terrible monster, but Ting's hyperactive blonde friend. In a total panic, his buddy starts rambling about the possible arrival of the apocalypse. Despite his friend's desperate meltdown, Chang Ting tries to remain composed and just gets annoyed at him. Practically vibrating with excitement, Ting's crazy friend starts showing him that everyone is blowing up social media over the incident. Feeling super uncomfortable, Chang Ting just scratches his head and tells his friend it must be a coincidence. With a sly grin, his unhinged buddy asks him if he's never heard about the end of the world in all those books he reads. It looks like, for real, the apocalypse is nigh. In a flash of clarity, the teen tries to argue, but the words completely fail him in that moment. Dripping with sarcasm, Ting's friend complains that even at the literal end of the world, he'd still pull out his tablet to read his novel. When he grabs the device, the young man reads a chilling message, informing him that the book he was just reading has been erased. This wasn't just any book, though it was all about this exact apocalyptic scenario. They both realize the novel also has a scene where the protagonists discuss the end of the world. It's in that precise instant that Chang Ting's world seems to crumble, as fiction starts to become his terrifying reality. Dashing through the school hallways, he makes up an excuse to get away from his friend. His friend starts to cry, realizing he's going to miss his buddy. Sprinting through the city streets, our hero remembers that in the book he read, there was a portal that led to another dimension. Time is running out, and Ting needs to move fast if he wants to stop a catastrophe. Without fear, the teen darts through the crowds of people who seem to be living their lives as normal. And right there, before his very eyes, is a portal glowing with the number 1. He's breathing hard when an old man materializes to tell him something. After reaching the location pinpointed in the book, the kid tries to recall how it all works. It all had to go down exactly like the story he'd read. He flashes back a staggering 999 portals. Each one was a gateway to a terrifying cosmic abyss. And just as the book prophesied, tonight at the stroke of midnight, unholy creatures from that shadowy chasm were set to swarm the earth. We're talking monstrous, horrifying abominations clawing their way into existence. Beings so powerful they defy description. unleashing a terror that will consume the entire universe. And get this, these nightmarish monsters came in different tiers, set to flood the planet, and not even the strongest heroes could hope to stop them. According to the book, when these apocalyptic beasts arrived, there was only one shot at survival. A specialized order of defenders against this evil would have to unite to save humanity. It was their only hope. The first wave? Level 1 mobs, vicious, world-eating wolves, designed to devour everything in their path. Chang Ting can't help but wonder if he has what it takes to step up. Like the protagonist in his novel, he vividly recalled that the level 2 monsters were the stuff of nightmares, horrific aquatic beings. Still, not knowing if any of this will actually happen, Ting feels a surge of confidence. For the coming fight, our hero decides to pool his resources and buy some necessary supplies. This won't be a walk in the park. You need serious gear to fight a monster. A girl he knows from school happens to walk by, but someone starts screaming at her through her phone, demanding she come home immediately. Without a second thought, the girl who should totally be in class agrees, leaving Chang Ting for another time. Meanwhile, our guy gets to work, crafting some insane-looking armor with the tools he just copped from the store. He engineers something that looks absolutely epic. Staring at the massive spear he forged, the young man feels the nerves kicking in. He's going to need some serious guts if he wants to face these creatures. Night falls, and with it, the chilling hope that everything is about to happen, just like the book said. Yet, as the clock crawls toward midnight, the area is eerily empty. With only 20 minutes left until go time, our boy is geared up and ready to exterminate the entire enemy. Race. Watching the clock, he knows the moment has arrived, and he'll need every ounce of courage he can find. 3, 2, 1. It's battle time. And just like in the book, Ting watches, as the portal rips open, confirming no one is safe. Vile beings from the abyss spill out, swarming toward him just as predicted. The gate has been breached, and now it's time for humanity to face the reckoning. A terrifying celestial light erupts, signaling that this event is on a much grander scale than the story described. But to his absolute horror, it isn't just one light, it's countless crimson beams blanketing the entire city. With his eyes wide open, he realizes this is no joke. The time is now. Materializing right in front of him is a savage, nightmarish creature, resembling a monstrous, feral wolf, but 1,000 times more ferocious. For the first time, our protagonist feels true fear, coursing through his veins. This is the point of no return. The night is swallowed by darkness, and Chang Ting understands that this wolf is, without a doubt, a creature summoned from the depths of the abyss. Just as the novel described, the creature is thirsty for blood and will stop at nothing to tear our hero apart. Shaking to his very core, Ting fights to stay calm before this hellbeast. Laser-focused, the creature with predatory eyes locks onto our warrior, who refuses to show any sign of weakness. Before the kid could even brace himself, the abyssal wolf lunges at him with pure ferocity. In that split second, the boy understands this isn't a game, this is reality, and this nightmare beast is coming straight for his throat. Acting fast, the warrior manages to dodge, and since the best defense is a good offense, our brave hero grips his spear, ready to face the wolf head-on. Without a moment's hesitation, Chang Ting plunges his makeshift spear deep into the beast's gut, which sprays a disgusting fluid into the air. The beast lets out a desperate roar, thrashing to free itself from the spear, and the young man starts to tremble as he realizes the weight of what he's just done. Still, trying to fight, the terrible abyssal wolf takes one last, ragged breath and collapses in front of the boy, who wonders if he actually won. The kid is terrified, realizing he's been thrown into an unexpected war. And yet, a faint smirk curls his lips. The end of the world is just getting started. He finds it amusing because he understands that this so-called terrifying monster was no match for his talent. But before Ting can even process it, the ferocious animal's eyes snap open and lock onto him. A blood-curdling howl erupts from the very soul of the beast, which, with the spear still embedded in it, cries out for backup. But then something supernatural happens, as if our hero just cleared a boss in a video game. A message materializes in the universe, announcing that the young man has just become human number 1 for slaying the dire wolf. In that moment, the kid realizes he's just scored his first victory. Slowly processing the message, flashing before him, our hero feels a massive sense of accomplishment, followed by a glorious surge of power. Erupting from the depths of his being, the ancestral spirit of the dire wolf crashes into his body, seizing control. Stronger now, the young man possesses brand new abilities unlocked by his first win. The creature's magnificent power floods Tin's soul, and he feels himself getting more powerful by the second. He's not just some curious kid anymore, he's a true warrior. Hell-bent on saving all of humanity, his transformation is capped off by an alert. He has absorbed the soul of the lone wolf. And just like that, a new champion is born, one brimming with power, agility, and insane reflexes. Just as the prophecy foretold, Our protagonist has now inherited all the energy packed within the wolf's soul. And without a second thought, the kid starts testing out his fantastic new skills. Feeling totally overpowered, he's ready to face anything. Clenching his fists, he throws a punch straight into the concrete. The impact shatters everything in its path. A superhero has been born, but the young man is still terrified by the sheer scale of his newfound power. A mysterious artifact materializes before him, one he recognizes instantly, an abyssal seed. Tossing it down his throat, the protagonist attempts to absorb the artifact's powers. His pupils dilate as he realizes he's just acquired one of the greatest powers in existence. Now fully supercharged, he can feel the raw blue magic coursing through his very soul. But all this power brings on a wave of nausea, as if his body is still getting used to the upgrade. He's just received another ability, the power to rapidly launch his blades. It's in this moment that it finally hits him. The fate of all humanity now rests on his shoulders. When the time is right, Tin will be able to unleash his new arsenal to save mankind from this supernatural onslaught. The next step is to understand how things are going to play out in the coming days. Back at the school building, every student seems to be locked in a grim conversation, and before Tin can even process what's happening, his friend lunges right at him. With no time for nonsense, the kid sidesteps the boy, who goes crashing straight into the floor. The blonde friend immediately clocks that something about the kid has changed. To prove his point, his buddy starts talking about how the news about monsters has absolutely blown up online. In fact, it looks like they're facing a full-blown apocalyptic attack that's set to end the entire world. Whipping out his tablet, the guy claims that tons of people are posting that whoever kills the creatures gets to steal their powers. Tin, however, tries to play it cool, acting completely uninterested. He pretends he doesn't buy it, which only starts to tick his friend off. But the blonde friend is persistent, insisting that it's possible to get superpowers from all this chaos. The kid just shuts the conversation down, making it clear he doesn't want to hear another word, leaving his friend completely stunned. The teacher enters the classroom and starts demanding that the students stop spreading fake rumors about the end of the world. But Tin, knowing exactly what he's experienced, asserts that in a few days, no one will be calling them fake rumors anymore. His friend gets seriously annoyed with the whole situation. After a long day, the bell finally rings, putting everyone on edge. After the announcement, the teacher lets them know that class is finally dismissed. In the tense atmosphere, Tin's friend approaches him, inviting him to the sports court so they can talk more privately. The young man doesn't fully understand what's going on, but he decides to follow his friend anyway. A few other students are also taking the chance to hang out on the court. Without beating around the bush, Tin's friend begins a long interrogation. When he realizes the kid isn't going to say a word about the events, he starts to cry. Continuing his dramatic display, the blonde guy breaks down into a full-blown crying fit and gets agitated. And for the first time, he calls Tin by his name, saying he has things to tell him that demand total secrecy. He pleads with his friend, claiming that he really is a trustworthy person. The teen, now surging with power, tells his friend to watch closely what he can do with just the tip of his finger. By simply touching a section of the staircase, it immediately crumbles like a cracker. The blonde kid almost has a heart attack, as it dawns on him that his friend just demolished a block of concrete with his fingertips. With nothing left to hide, Tin finally tells his friend the whole truth, making it clear he's gained new abilities. Takedo seems increasingly mesmerized by his friend, especially upon realizing that those were the very hands that took down a wolf. While he was holding his friend's hand, the pretty girl from their class eyes them suspiciously as she takes in the strange scene. She's daydreaming that they're flirting, but he cuts right to the chase, warning his friend that in 3 days, the city's going to be under attack again. He says they have to be prepared. And on top of that, he needs to be ready to absorb his friend's abilities. But Chang Ting makes it absolutely clear this conversation stays between them, period. After that, time seems to drag on forever. On the walk home, our hero remembers that the next monster assault is happening far from here. He's got to steel himself to confront a horrifying beast that looks like a giant ape. But he has to be on his A-game, because this monster's skills are on a whole other level. The next abyssal class monster is a terrifying gorilla, but if he plays his cards right, he can crush this creature and unlock new powers. As his thoughts are racing, a woman suddenly appears in his path. Taking a closer look, he realizes it could only be his aunt. She grabs him by the arm and insists he come over for dinner. He immediately looks annoyed and asks if his uncle is home. His aunt picks up on the tension right away and tells her nephew to just calm down. Irritated, he thanks her for her concern, but he knows he can handle himself now. She just watches him storm off toward his house, fuming. The young man's house is a complete disaster zone, littered with empty liquor bottles and leftover food. A red-haired kid casually remarks that Chang Ting isn't home. The kid's father, who is apparently his uncle, just scoffs at him while taking a drink. This drunk claims to be the owner of the house, which actually belongs to our hero. Without any warning, The front door is blasted open by a powerful kick, scaring the two freeloaders. Radiating pure power, Ting becomes enraged seeing his uncle in such a pathetic state. His punk cousin gets up, trying to defend his dad. However, a single raised hand from the drunken father is enough to silence him. His sketchy uncle then approaches, trying to smooth things over. Getting in his face, he tells him that since he's about to head off to college, he should look for a place of his own. Shoving a check right in our hero's face, his despicable uncle tries to bribe him into leaving his own home, and before he can even respond, his spoiled cousin jumps into the middle of it. Knowing he has more than enough power to absolutely wreck these idiots, Ting warns them that they're the ones who need to leave. Realizing he's being threatened, his uncle erupts in fury at his nephew's audacity. Trying to stay composed, our hero starts calling them out for never helping his parents. They were never there when his mom and dad most needed money for the hospital. Trying to flip the script, the kid's uncle starts making threats, claiming he actually has a right to the house. Seizing the opportunity, the punk cousin throws it in Chang Ting's face that he doesn't have parents around to protect him. And taking it beyond just threats, the red-haired cousin actually calls our brave hero a dog. Struggling to contain his immense power, the young man tells his cousin to shut up and take back what he just said. But, completely clueless that he's talking to a superhero, the scumbag just keeps running his mouth. It's not just him, either. His damn uncle chimes in with more jokes, totally underestimating the kid's strength. The cousin challenges him to a fight, saying he's going to beat him senseless. And before they could even get ready, the teenager's fist clenches and connects, absolutely shattering his damn uncle's face. As the punch lands, his body goes flying to the floor, leaving his cousin terrified. The bastard screams, grabbing a glass bottle, to smash over Chang's head. He's instantly met with a picture-perfect kick, straight to the stomach. Not holding back, our champion makes sure to teach this brat a lesson. With his entire body trembling, the little punk cousin writhes in pain while still hurling insults at him. Having no patience for any more talk, the young man decides to just leave, and head straight to his room. As they pull themselves up from the floor, both the uncle and cousin are crying out in pain, having been completely wrecked by the boy. But he has much bigger problems to deal with. He needs to pack his things, because the next attack is closing in. Even so, he makes it clear he will avenge his parents' memory, no matter the cost. He walks past the two scumbags with a suitcase in hand, immediately catching the intruder's attention. Announcing that he's leaving, the young man warns them that they have 3 days to make a decision. With their hands still on the spots where they were hit, both of them get visibly more nervous. With his face still swollen from the punch, the uncle wonders if the kid is really just giving up the house. Now it's the cousin who gets pissed off, feeling a thirst for revenge. Far away from there, he arrives at a really nice place that looks like a hotel. Walking up to the receptionist, the young man says he wants a room for the next 2 nights. With a seductive gaze, the girl offers him something more than just a place to stay, like a private massage. Flustered by the unexpected proposal, he begins to wonder, is this seriously the right kind of hotel for a student? The receptionist, visibly flustered, makes a weirdly sudden attempt to touch his skin. He instinctively jerks his hand away, completely caught off guard. She gets the message and just slides the room key over. A quick glance out the window reveals a seriously sketchy scene, the air thick with the sounds of heavy breathing. We see our guy is completely zoned in on something. The camera cuts to the next room, where a girl seems to be making some bizarre noises. But before you get the wrong idea, he was actually listening to the racket coming from the room next door. Clearly, this was not the spot for someone his age, but there was no turning back now. The noise from the adjacent room, however, was escalating from annoying to downright unbearable. Inside room 2 to 10, we find 2 other people just as fed up with the noise, a pair of women. They're complaining about having to put up with this chaos for some greater mission, but Sakura, the pink-haired girl, is reaching her breaking point with what she's hearing. Fed up with the entire situation, young Sakura finally confronts Mayo. The woman with short, white hair, clearly the more seasoned of the two, begins giving her some advice. She tells her to just breathe deeply, but it seems Sakura is only getting more annoyed by the woman's counsel. Mayo just offers a faint smile, admitting there's not much they can do about their current predicament. Staring off into the distance, the white-haired woman can only brood about the end of the world and the monster invasion. Her gaze snaps back to Sakura, telling her she's going to have to be strong. The girl nods, claiming she can handle it. Then just breathe for 10 seconds, woman. But Sakura's frustration spikes again at how calmly Mayo is handling everything. 2 days flash by. Darkness has fallen, and the clock is creeping toward midnight. We find Tink with his buddy at Ground Zero, the exact spot where it's all supposed to go down. The young man is certain this is where the creatures will spawn. Takato takes a deep breath, asking his friend if he's really sure he can take down the terrifying beings from the shadows. His cowardly friend instantly fires back that if anything remotely dangerous happens, he's ditching him and running for his life. But our hero reassures him, promising he can handle it. This whole exchange makes his friend wonder how they're even still friends. Pulling out his glowing device, he confirms the attack is slated for exactly 30 minutes from now. In that moment, the hero flashes back to the book, recalling exactly how this was all supposed to play out. But, to his absolute shock, something totally unexpected happens. Chang Ting grabs his friend by the collar and yanks him into hiding. Right before their eyes, the two girls from the hotel appear, and he instantly recognizes Sakura. Staring at her, he can't process what he's seeing. They were never mentioned in the book. Completely lost, the friends wonder what the hell they're doing here. Taking a sharp breath, the boy scrambles for an answer and quickly deduces they must also be hunting the abyssal monsters. As they lock eyes, both Mayo and Sakura brace themselves for the coming challenge. After a moment's thought, Takedo remembers that the girl's family is famously part of the special police force. A gut feeling told him they were here on a secret police mission, but if these girls stuck around, Chang Ting wouldn't be able to complete his own long-awaited, dreamed-of mission. Arriving at the spot marked with the number 2, the young woman wonders aloud if this is really where the monsters will emerge. Mayo approaches the marking on the ground, confirming that dangerous things will crawl out of it the second the clock strikes midnight. She warns, however, that they need to stay on high alert, because the monsters that will burst forth are nothing like anything from the real world. Hoisting a massive bomb, Mayo looks more than ready to throw down with these creatures of darkness. And for you, a high-caliber pistol. Get a good grip and blow their brains out. Sakura handles the handgun with surprising skill, a fire in her eyes that says she's ready for combat. From high up in the stadium, the two friends watch this whole insane scene unfold, with absolutely no clue what is going on. Taking a deep breath and trying to stay calm, Tink starts advising his friend. A terrifying smoke begins to flood the area, and the warrior Mayo looks primed for action. From a distance, the young man watches everything, finding it bizarre that their primary weapon is a bomb. They don't know it yet, but the first monster to claw its way out is going to be far more violent than they can imagine. But if things go south, he'd be there to protect them. The clock ticks ever closer to the designated hour, and as it does, the bomb's timer activates. The countdown begins from the girl's lips as the clock officially hits midnight. Both Sakura and Mayo are steeling themselves for the danger. A terrible curse is being summoned to this very spot. Sinister forces begin to emerge before them all. The portal rips open and, in a horrifying spectacle, the entire area transforms into a cosmic nightmare. Before anyone can even react, two creatures from the depths of the abyss materialize with twisted smiles on their faces. The young man rips into the girls for being completely unprepared for the monster's ambush. Without wasting a second, the incredible Mayo snatches the bomb's remote and, on pure instinct, slams the button. A massive explosion erupts, shaking the building's foundations to their core as a cloud of gritty dust fills the air. And just like that, the two girls start to celebrate, but it looks like they spoke way too soon. Dropping into a combat stance, they join forces to confront the creature, which is somehow still alive. It seems the bomb blast only managed to take out the first monster. The other horrifying beast, seeing it has to obliterate these girls itself, charges at them with a thirst for human flesh. What it didn't count on was the warrior Mayo being ready for round 2. With her high-powered laser weapon, she unleashes a blast at the menacing creature. Before she can even see the outcome of her shot, she decides to bail from this cursed place. The terrifying beast decides to attack the girls without a shred of mercy, throwing a massive punch that barely misses our warrior's face. The creature glances down, spots a gigantic rock it can use as a weapon, and without a second thought, hurls the heavy block straight at the girls. Mayo takes a brutal hit to the back and crashes to the ground, begging Sakura to run because she doesn't know if she can take any more. In that desperate moment, a young Sakura locks eyes with Mayo and pleads with her to get up. She then witnesses the horrific beast tower over them, its fist raised high. Knowing the agony that's coming, the white-haired girl cries out for mercy. Instantly, the pink-haired girl squeezes her eyes shut, refusing to watch her friend get crushed. A deafening crash echoes through the air. Out of nowhere, our savior appears, brutally slamming the terrible beast into the wall. The fearsome gorilla is knocked out for a few moments. Strong and powerful, the young hero plants himself in front of the girl. He makes it crystal clear he'll do anything to protect her. His hands are shaking because this time, it actually hurt. With tears streaming down her face, the young woman reveals all her pain. Before she can check on Mayo's body, she quickly realizes she's okay. This wasn't her end. Knowing the beast could get up at any second, the hero warns both girls they need to leave. Right then, the girl realizes she recognizes the guy from school and asks him what he's even doing here. But way more important than finding out his reasons is getting the heck out of there immediately. In that same instant, the abominable creature lunges from the shadows, launching a deadly blow at our hero. It looks like the giant ape is ready to unleash all of its hatred on Chang Tin. What it never expected was for the courageous hero to catch its hairy fist with all his might. focusing his energy to unleash his full attack power. The champion lets out a furious roar. Then we see the terrifying beast get launched once more into the construction walls. However, the boy's strength begins to fade, and his attack power is now evenly matched with the gorilla's. But this has a limit, and he pulls out his secret weapon. The gigantic beast locks its gaze on our legendary fighter, thinking it can just devour him. Our hero leaps forward with his razor-sharp spear to destroy the fearsome predator before the beast has a chance to defend itself. The young man tears through the gorilla's hide with a fatal blow, causing a strange liquid to spray everywhere. With nothing left to do, the creature groans in agony from the devastating attack. The strike was so powerful that the beast's rotting body began to leak an infectious nectar, and its power simply vanished. Just as our warrior predicted, a message pops up in front of him, congratulating him on the attack. Having drained all his strength, the young man starts to receive his reward. For that glorious strike, a new skill seems to have unlocked immediately after the bloody assault. Both Sakura and Mayo are left completely stunned by what they're seeing. Right then, just as the boy anticipated, everything is falling into place. It's happening exactly like the book said. Swelling with pride over his work, the boy strikes a triumphant pose, ready to soak up the praise. What he didn't expect was for the loudmouth Taketo to start complaining, clearly annoyed by the whole display. Chang Ting takes a huge leap toward his friend, grabbing the blonde coward by the collar. Suddenly, an idea hits him as he remembers their deal. Tin wants his buddy to get some new skills too, but before the coward could work up the nerve, they hear a noise. The girls were still there, even after almost screwing up his plans. Walking over, they thank them for saving Sakura, but they bring up the monster again. He immediately cuts her off to make it clear he doesn't care what she's about to say. However, Mayo seems determined to negotiate for the monster's corpse. Shaking with fear and trying to dodge any kind of conflict, Taketo attempts to calm the situation down. To shut him up, the young man offers him his powerful weapon. It's time for his friend to hold up his end of the bargain. Without overthinking it, the young man plunges the weapon through the monster's skin, just as planned. The kid who'd been a total pushover just moments before suddenly unlocks some insane new skills. Petrified that the beast will strike again, the scrawny kid lets out a primal scream, a raw command for it to stay down. Completely out of patience, Chang Ting snaps at his friend, demanding he finish the job once and for all. And that's when it hits Sakura. This whole fight is pointless. They're getting absolutely nothing out of it. Mayo glares at our hero, vowing revenge. She makes her exit, spitting venomous threats his way. But with this newfound power surging through him, her threats are just laughable. He scoffs and just walks away. The girl reveals a bombshell. Sakura's family is running some kind of massive, high-stakes project in the city, but our hero can't commit to the invitation just yet. He needs time to think it over. Mayo just thanks him for listening. She tells him that if he needs anything, Sakura is the one to contact. The second the girls are gone, he lets out a massive sigh of relief. After a crazy long day, it's finally time for Chang Ting to devour the seed. Without a second thought, he swallows the powerful gem. He has no idea what's coming. Instantly, an insane power surges through his entire body. He's on a completely different level now. He clenches his fists, feeling the raw power. His strength is skyrocketing, and the rush is absolutely unreal. And that's when it hits his friend. This isn't a game anymore. Things are getting serious. Trying to play it cool, the kid gives his friend a reassuring grin to calm him down. Plus, he points out that the new item that just dropped is going to be a massive help, and it's immediately clear this slingshot can actually pack a punch against the monsters. Cracking a smile at his friend, Chang Ting clocks that the stats on it are insane. Taketo takes a beat, a new wave of confidence washing over him before he speaks. Holding the new weapon, the kid jokes that he feels smarter already. But for real, he knows he owes his friend everything for this. The two friends share a hug and head back to the hotel. Meanwhile, across town, the girls are in their car, and Mayo is apologizing to Sakura for failing their mission. But the white-haired girl isn't sweating it. She's already plotting a totally new strategy. Tapping her communicator, she speaks our protagonist's name, her voice laced with ice, promising revenge for what he did. Far away from them, back at the lavish hotel, the awkward tension between the two friends starts to build as they hear some suspicious noises coming from the room next door. Taketo, cringing hard, turns to his friend and asks if they really have to stay in this noisy as heck room. Holding up a hand to stop him, he says that he's actually got some cash on him. Chang Ting replies that he has a bit more, but warns that pretty soon, money is going to be completely worthless. The blonde friend gives him this sly look, and our hero instantly knows what he's thinking. He immediately shuts him down, saying there's no way he's letting him use the phone to order what he has in mind. Getting all defensive, the blonde insists he didn't say anything and wasn't even thinking about it. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. Room service, a voice calls out. Forgetting their whole conversation, Chang Ting is absolutely starving, and it's time to chow down. As he grabs the food, he glances up to see who brought it to their room. A gorgeous woman is giving him a bold, flirty stare, making it crystal clear she wants something more. Even as she's leaving, she tosses a sweet compliment his way. He gets all flustered, finding her forwardness kinda cute but totally nerve-wracking. Stepping back into the room, he takes a deep breath to compose himself. As they start eating, his mind drifts to what's coming tomorrow morning. The sun is going to completely vanish from the sky, and in its place, a blinding green light will blast down toward the planet. Everyone will call it the Emerald Sunday, and when it appears, the entire planet will be bathed in an eerie green glow. Then, a voice will declare that Earth now belongs to the abyssal underworld. World leaders will finally realize this is a code red situation. They'll scramble to find some way to fight back. And right then, as portals 3 and 4 rip open, humanity will start unlocking even more abilities. At the same time, special forces will be formed to try and hold the line against the invasion. Scientists across the globe will race to study and contain these abyssal forces. But as time goes on, the creatures will just keep getting stronger and more dangerous. As they finish their food, the conversation turns to the idea of being the strongest people on Earth. Chewing his food, Chang Ting poses a question to his friend. What's it like being just one of the strongest? As soon as the words leave his mouth, he freezes. Takedo puts it together. He's one of the top 30 most powerful people on the entire planet, and the thought is exhilarating. However, soon, he notices something's wrong with his friend, who's suddenly gone rigid and is on high alert. Without another word, his friend abruptly shoves his chair back and bolts out the door, just yelling that he'll be right back. His friend is left completely baffled, wondering what just happened. A moment later, a wave of disappointment washes over him, wishing he was as powerful as his buddy. When he gets down to the front desk, Chang Ting asks about the delivery girl he just saw, only for them to confirm she doesn't even work there. Model. With a cigarette dangling from her lips, the receptionist smirks, saying the girl is a drifter who shows up every so often. She slowly concedes that she can't really say what the girl's business is there, especially since she could be making way more bank somewhere else. And that's exactly why our guy is hunting for this woman. The receptionist gives him a sideways glance, suspecting this kid might actually know who this mystery person is. Without missing a beat, he asks for the woman's room number. But thanks to hotel policy, the receptionist claims she can't release that information. That's when our hero pulls out a fat stack of cash and slaps it on the counter. Apparently, the receptionist's price was pretty low, because she immediately coughs up the room number. Taking a deep breath, the kid heads for the woman's room, determined to find out who she really is. He hits the button for floor 5, and the elevator immediately starts its climb. In this world, there exist 12 individuals wielding supernatural abilities. If you can manage to unite all 12, you can rally their forces to stop the devastating attacks on the city. According to the book, the key to finding them all was a woman who possessed the power of a scorpion. Her name is never mentioned in the text, but she was a crucial figure because she had a very specific tattoo. The scorpion woman was a powerful escort known for brutalizing her captives. And, just as our guy suspected, this girl had a nearly identical mark. When he finally reached the right door, his heart started hammering against his ribs. The chance that he was completely wrong was terrifying. The book said this woman loathed men, so he knew he had to play this smart. After ringing the bell, he waited for her to appear. The door swung open to reveal her in some seriously revealing clothes, her voice a seductive whisper. The girl immediately starts trying to tempt our hero. Shang Ting apologizes for the intrusion, desperately trying to get a handle on the situation. Her fingers graze his face as she invites him into the apartment. He's never felt anything this intense before, and our hero feels his resolve starting to crack. Whispering right into his ear, the woman tries to convince him that he's going to have an amazing time. Mustering all his courage to face this test, the young man takes a shaky breath, and then just bolts from the scene. The woman just watches him flee, muttering that there must be something seriously wrong with him. Devastated, our guy starts blaming himself for how it all went down, trying to just pass out and forget the whole ordeal. After a restless night, a new day dawns, and Takedo's eyes snap open. As he desperately drags himself out of bed, he begs his friend to let him sleep just a little longer. But his buddy is already glued to the window, warning him that there's only 1 minute left until the great tragedy strikes. The prophecy flashes in his mind, and the young man leaps from his bed to witness the celestial event for himself. Overcome with rage, he can't process what's happening. Right before his eyes, a monstrous laser beam rips through the clouds, blasting down directly from the heavens. The actual end of the world has officially begun. In an instant, the city streets are bathed in an unearthly green light. The blinding viridian glow engulfs the entire city, making it impossible for some people to see. A few pedestrians quickly grasp the gravity of the situation, and looking up, they see the sun has turned a sickly, toxic green. In a stunning and brutal wave, the emerald light floods every corner of the earth, and now, there's no escaping what's coming. The mysterious woman is staggering through the street in her strange outfit, completely exhausted from the night before. Something snaps her to attention when she notices the sun is, literally, green. Have you ever heard how some people with conditions like cancer can start seeing entirely new colors? To this woman, the hue is brilliantly beautiful. She can't stop staring as it pours over the landscape. The color spreads in a way that's impossible to describe, and her only desire is to feel its touch immediately. The vision of a gigantic space scorpion explodes in the woman's mind, radiating a sinister energy that makes her eyes fixate on the intergalactic being. The next thing she knows, she's sprawled on the ground, completely disoriented. As this gruesome power surges into her, the young woman goes into a violent collapse and crumples onto the sidewalk. Meanwhile, the others can only stare as the apocalypse unfolds before them. But then, a terrifying voice erupts from deep space, speaking to all of humanity. This voice seems to take on specific colors, and as it descends from the cosmos, it seizes the entire planet, while an unspeakable form begins to materialize. Horrifying prophecies are declared against all of mankind. It seems the abyssal war is upon them, and this demonic figure is ready to toy with all life on Earth, summoning the forces of its underworld. This dreadful creature is prepared to unleash pure evil upon the Earth. From this point on, they will rise. Nameless horrors from the abyss, thirsty to unleash their corruption upon the entire world. As that monstrosity spews its unholy blasphemies, the girls hang on every single word. 999 portals will tear open, and from them, nightmarish creatures will swarm out to assault all life on Earth. It looks like humanity might have a sliver of a chance to fight back, but facing this horde will be an impossible challenge. If humanity loses this war, that cosmic terror will devour every last shred of life left on the planet. This creature is ready to play games with mankind and watch the world rot. After delivering its apocalyptic prophecies, the entity actually wishes everyone good luck and blasts a terrifying beam of light into the sky. In that single flash, the malevolent being vanishes without a trace. After the broadcast, Takete is trembling with fear, shoving his friend, completely shook by what he just witnessed. Young Takete wonders if that was the official announcement for the end of the world, because it feels like humanity is totally screwed. With nothing to say, Chang Ting chooses to stay silent, rather than spout some nonsense at a time like this. The young man forces himself to remember everything he saw in that damned book, and if he's right, things are about to get so much worse. Spooked by the tone in his friend's voice, Takete starts grilling him for answers. Far away from them, the true leaders of the world are starting to debate the future of humanity. An old man at the head of the table decides to stand, declaring that the earth is about to become a mere playground for these creatures. However, a man from the armed forces counters that they must annihilate every last one of these disgusting abominations. The situation is clearly critical, and they seem prepared to sacrifice civilian lives to win this fight. Another man shoots to his feet in protest, shouting that they are all well and truly doomed. His name is Ed Suyuda, and he wants to make it crystal clear that no one in this room has any idea what they're truly up against. Leader Matsumoto Kage grows irritated with the man's pessimism. Just then, Mr. Yuda proposes an idea, creating a special squadron, dedicated to defending the planet. Glaring at the other members, the old man says, it's not a bad idea, but he has no clue how to recruit people for it. The truth is, everyone is absolutely petrified of the abyssal monsters, and it's time to find a path toward peace. They all agree on the need for global peace, but far away from there, our hero is already well aware the government will try to form a special unit, but Takete, with his sharp mind, is already wondering how they're supposed to sign up. Looking his friend dead in the eye, Chang Ting declares they'll have to fight to prove their worth. It seems that in the book, the protagonist ultimately lost his freedom and is shot at joining the team. This time, however, is not the time to put his freedom on the line. The world needs to be saved, but his young friend still wonders how they can possibly pull it off. For now, the young man needs to find some kind of work to support himself for the next few weeks. But even his own buddy doesn't get why that would be his focus. It's time to confront Chang Ting's drunkard uncle. After hearing that, the young man is already bracing himself for what he's about to walk into. Seeing his friend getting more and more pissed off, Takete tries to remind him that they are heroes, not villains. It seems our protagonist is well aware of that, but he's ready to get his revenge and be brave in his own way. The two fools are completely terrified that just as they get their hands on the house, this abyssal invasion kicks off, and it looks like the cousin suspects the kid knew exactly what he was doing. Even with the world ending, that drunk only cares about having a good time. A sudden noise erupts, catching them off guard. In that instant, the uncle knows exactly what's happening, and it's obviously his cursed nephew. Before he can even scream for help, He watches his son get slammed into the wall. Yep, he was just viciously attacked. It all happened so fast he didn't even have a moment to think. When he saw his nephew standing before him, not moving a muscle, Chang Ting declares, "You're next." Realizing the kid just committed a crime, the uncle threatens him, calling him a murderer. And the young man replies that he's well aware, desperate and begging for his life. That scumbag uncle starts trying to play the family card. But it's clear our hero couldn't care less about those pathetic excuses. With all the hatred in the world, the young man screams at his uncle, telling him he's the one responsible for all the awful things that have happened to him. Getting closer and closer to the uncle, Ting is ready to execute his ultimate revenge. Pleading for mercy, the uncle begs his nephew to stop and just forget everything that happened. Unsheathing his sword, the young man is prepared to put an end to all of it, once and for all. But before he can finish the job, his uncle screams that he knows who killed Nissan. That revelation hits the young man like a punch to the gut. The words hung in the air, a confession he prayed his nephew missed. But the uncle doubles down. He knows exactly who murdered the kid's mom. Fueled by a raw, escalating fury, the boy's eyes blaze as he demands the truth. Right here, right now. Pleading for his life, the uncle spills it all. It was the nephew of some dude named Chief Katu. The guy was wasted, driving drunk when he mowed his mother down. Desperate for the full story, the young man presses him. How the hell did he know that? It all came out during a late-night drinking session, a hushed confession from the chief himself. And just like that, everything clicks into place. The reason the police buried his mother's case. With the whole ugly truth laid bare, the uncle begs to be spared. As the nephew turns to leave, he actually thanks him. But it was far too late for gratitude. A strange, chilling sensation begins to crawl up his spine. In a flash of cold steel, Chang Ting's blade erupts through the man's chest, a clean, brutally efficient, and fatal strike. Reveling in the kill, the young man gives his gear a once-over, a look of immense pride plastered on his face. But the victory lap is cut short when his friend walks in, completely stunned by the gruesome scene. The kid's only defense? A cold reality check. A whole lot more people are about to die anyway. They've got 2 weeks to get ready for what's coming. Slinging their packs over their shoulders, the two look primed for the road ahead. They share a look, a silent, mutual understanding. They're as ready as they'll ever be for whatever hell awaits. With a final nod, they confirm it's time to move out. Flash forward 2 weeks, and we find Mayo and Sakura mid-conversation in a moving car. The apocalypse is literally on the horizon as they hash out their next moves, but you can tell Sakura is totally bugging out over the whole situation. Suddenly, their eyes are glued to the road ahead, spotting something that makes their blood run cold. The engine roars as they slam on the gas. That's when we see him, a tall, handsome guy, looking completely blindsided by the chaos unfolding around him. Without a shred of hesitation, the girls screech the car to a halt, throwing the doors wide open. They both vault out of the car, stomping directly toward this mysterious, good-looking stranger. A smug grin spreads across his face as the charming guy greets them, casually remarking that they've finally made it. Absolutely seething, the girls can only glare at him with pure disgust. Then, a flash of recognition hits Sakura like a lightning bolt, and in that moment, the truth becomes undeniable. This handsome stranger is none other than the coward they once knew, Takedo. It seems his newfound abilities didn't just boost his power level, they gave him a complete visual overhaul, turning him into a total heartthrob. While impressive, Mayo mentions she'd heard rumors about this, though seeing it in person is still wild. Then, out of literally nowhere, a heavy backpack materializes in midair, sailing through the air as if chucked by an invisible hand and smacking right down on Takedo's head, leaving him completely dazed. And there's Chang Ting, somehow looking even more charismatic than before, getting his friend's attention and telling him to hop in the girl's ride. Without even waiting for an invitation, our hero casually adjusts the back seat and climbs right in. His friends are just floored by his sheer, unapologetic confidence. To slice through the awkward silence hanging in the air, the skilled driver finally breaks the ice and starts a conversation with the brave warrior. According to him, a third and extremely dangerous portal is set to rip open in a city park. And just like that, the four of them had their next destination locked in. They rolled up to the location just as the clock was about to hit midnight. Sure enough, as they neared the portal's location, they spotted the number 3 branded into the ground. Even though she had a feeling they'd find it, a chill still ran down her spine, seeing the concrete proof that he was right all along. Loving the validation, he smugly asks her to save the compliments for when they have an audience. But honestly, she was in no mood to stroke his massive ego. It was time to get serious and cut out the distractions. The third portal was scheduled to open in less than 30 minutes. With zero shame, the blonde friend immediately called dibs on whatever skill this next portal dished out, but his friends instantly shut that down, not wanting him to screw everything up with his usual clumsiness. As the clock struck midnight, the portal wasted no time tearing open, unleashing a flood of hideous creatures. Knowing exactly what they were in for, the young man yelled for everyone to brace themselves. This time, both Mayo and Sakura were on high alert, their senses screaming. Out of the swirling energy, a vile, slimy creature began to coalesce into a truly disgusting form. But the slime creature was way, way bigger than Takedo had anticipated, catching him completely off guard. Knowing his friend's legendary track record for messing things up, Chang Ting shot him a look that screamed, "Don't you dare blow this." As they braced for the fight, the duo ran through their game plan one last time. This disgusting slime monster was on another level of dangerous. It had tentacles that spat lethal acid. Sticking to the plan, the duo kicked off the assault, with Takedo taking aim at one of the tentacles, creating an opening for his partner to charge in. But the horrifying creature immediately sensed the incoming attack. It swelled into something more menacing, its aggression now laser-focused on the two of them. At first, the kid was rattled, the whole situation feeling way too terrifying. But knowing his friend's personality, our hero tried to hype him up. Even as the abyssal creature continued to expand, it wasted no time, lunging at our duo. Its horrifying tentacles whipped into a threatening stance against Takedo and his pistol. Staring the monster down, the young man focused with intense effort, pouring every last bit of his concentration into the moment. He fired, making it clear this single shot was for the sake of world peace. His skill was unreal, because he managed to nail the tentacles perfectly, just as they had planned. In that instant, it was our champion's turn to jump in. Immediately sprinting toward the creature, Chang Ting launched himself into the air. Roaring at the beast, the young man dove into an attack. His mighty, razor-sharp sword managed to carve out a huge chunk from the repulsive being. It seemed they'd found the gooey creature's weak spot. It began to melt right before their eyes. Watching the scene unfold, the two girls asked if they had finally managed to destroy the monster. After confirming they had, the young man tossed his weapon over to Sakura so she could deliver the final blow. With every ounce of her strength, the girl plunged the spear deep into that gelatinous body. But then, a sudden alert, Takedo let out a massive scream at his friends. Nobody understood a thing, and they all started questioning each other. But before he could explain the reason for the shout, a colossal explosion erupted in their direction. Sweeping Sakura up in his arms, our hero tries to process what's even happening. A deep male voice cuts through the chaos, saying that their attack was magnificent. This bastard, who just appeared, claims he was going to kill them, but that he'll let them escape this time. "This creature is mine," he declares shamelessly. The four friends watch as this disgusting man approaches the monster they had just defeated, but our victor is not about to let this slide. Glaring at him with pure hatred, irritated by what's happening, Chang Ting demands to know how he found this place. His friend, sweating bullets, says the information must have been leaked. However, the damn scumbag just tries to joke about the situation. More shocking than anything is that in the book, this never happened, and that fact terrifies our hero. It seems the story is adjusting itself to new timelines and events. With no fear of confronting the kid, this bully closes in, step by step. Seeing that our hero was completely paralyzed, the scumbag taunts him even more. Taking a deep breath, the boy tries to keep his cool. Noticing Chang Ting, attempting to collect himself, the guy asks him why he's bothering. Clenching his fist, the boy states he's preparing for the perfect moment to wipe out his kind. That statement puts the bully on maximum alert. Before he could even think, our hero raises his fist and tries to strike him. However, contrary to what the young man expected, that bastard managed to defend himself with lightning speed, which completely stunned him. With a wide grin, the scumbag says, "That was a good hit." In that moment, realizing this will be a difficult duel, the young man begins to brace himself. Shouting to his friend, the duo attempts a merciless surprise attack on the bully. Takedo unleashes countless golden bullets toward the wretched man, but before they could anticipate it, the powerful stranger throws his hands up in front of the bullets and manages to defend himself. Bragging about his defense, he says he couldn't imagine two kids knew how to fight so well, but that he won't let this threat go unpunished. At that, the kid yells, pouring even more power into his shots, which now blast out like fireballs. With a malicious smirk, that disgusting man says it won't be a problem. To the villain's surprise, the kid manages to redirect his fiery beams right toward the magic orbs he was using. On top of that, Takedo lands a precision shot right on the arrogant bastard's arm. Never imagining he'd be wounded by these kids, the stranger becomes absolutely furious. Realizing he managed to hit the bastard, the young man feels incredibly proud, but the bully wasn't about to let it end like that, and immediately charges the boys. Dashing past Chang Tin, the guy moves even faster. In a flash, he stops right in front of the blonde kid, with those bright, ferocious eyes. With all his might, he clenches his fist and immediately slams it into Takedo's face while he tries to defend himself. However, the stranger's attack power is just too strong, and in that instant, the boy's body is sent flying at high speed. Seeing his friend get hurt, our hero screams his name. Raising his fist against the bully, Chang Ting also balls his hand, ready to tear this bastard apart in a brawl. However, he's stopped dead by the man's hand, which swiftly grabs his face before our hero could even launch his attack. The violent stranger smashes the young man's face into the ground. For the first time, Chang Ting faces an enemy on his level, and it's agonizing. With violet flames in his eyes, the bully raises his arm to strike the boy once more. He tries to raise his fist to defend himself, but that attack power is just too overwhelming. Without a second thought for the consequences, the guy manages to crush the boy's face. A brutal agony rips through him. The pain crashes over his entire body, leaving him paralyzed and helpless against the savage attack. A twisted grin spreads across the villain's face. He's already tasting victory, showing zero mercy as he moves in to snuff out the kid's life for good. The scumbag relentlessly pummels his face. It looks like a lost cause, and the girls can only watch in absolute terror, horrified at what's about to happen. Raising her weapon at the stranger, Mayo tries to shield her friend, but before she can even pull the trigger, the coward lands a vicious cheap shot on her. She's completely drained of strength. Sakura, still clutching her spear, is desperate to charge in, but she's warned to stand down. Surveying the utter chaos he's unleashed in the arena, the guy begins to stride toward the creature. With a slight twinge in his neck, he mutters that he's probably going to need a hospital trip after this beatdown. However, just before he can close in on the bizarre creature, a voice explodes from right behind him. That roar belonged to none other than our hero, who to the scoundrel's complete shock somehow still had fight left in him. He doesn't even have a second to react. With one explosive punch, Chang Ting catches the lowlife completely off guard, sending him rocketing through the air. Screaming in agony, the impact was so insanely powerful that the bastard's body just kept sailing farther and farther into the distance. Knocked out, cold, and totally lost, the stranger could only groan in pain, his hands trembling uncontrollably. Ting could only suck in a deep, ragged breath. Even though his entire body was screaming, he was digging deep, finding strength that shouldn't have been there. Our hero rushed over to his friend's side, lifting Taketo's body slowly and with extreme care. He began checking to see if he was okay. It looked like after that entire brawl, the young man's fist was seriously wrecked. Our duo then turned their attention to the monstrous creature, hoping to finish their mission before any more nasty surprises popped up. Sakura leveled her spear and put the creature down right then and there. Knowing exactly what came next, Chang Ting immediately ordered Sakura to consume the abyssal seed. Instantly rising into the air, the girl's body begins to channel a glorious new power. The group starts making their way out of that place, and it's clear that Mayo is seriously hurt. Still, the one in the worst shape is that damn scoundrel, who will definitely think twice before ever messing with our heroes again. As he struggles to pull himself off the ground, the bastard realizes he's been completely and utterly shattered. He still has no clue where he is, let alone his own name. His whole body aches, and it's going to take a long, long time for him to recover. Through the haze of pain, the scumbag slowly pushes himself up as his consciousness starts to return. Cursing everything and everyone, he stumbles toward a house. Violently kicking the door in, he storms inside, screaming at everybody. To our surprise, the place looks less like a house and more like some evil headquarters, and inside are a mysterious, attractive woman and another guy. He admits he's stunned by our hero's power. Still hurting, the bully begins to explain the situation to his allies, that those kids are terrifyingly powerful. However, the time has come for the League of Evil to finally make its move against our protagonists. Realizing that these guys want to team up against the kids, the bully starts to complain. Trying to drag the woman into the conversation, he asks for her opinion, calling her Ivara. This completely sets the woman off, as she's told him a million times that her name is now Escorpiana. Hearing this, the bully just scoffs, mocking her for wanting to be called Escorpiana. But before he can continue his taunts, the woman unleashes a violent attack on him with her magic glowing fist. Stopping just inches from the guy's throat, Escorpiana informs him that this will be his final warning. Confident in his own strength, the man faces off against her, ready to take her out if she keeps pushing it. However, their other partner, completely fed up with this nonsense, orders them to cut it out. It's time to focus on how to move forward with their secret mission. Glaring daggers at them, he declares that if they don't stop, he'll punish them in a truly hellish way. Both of them immediately snap to attention, making it crystal clear that his threat was dead serious. With a slightly nervous smile, Escorpiana tells their leader not to make such a scary face, claiming it's already over. The bully looks at the leader, totally shaken, because he knows that if this guy wants to, he can become an actual demon. To end the conversation, the leader says that Avera better be back there in 3 days, making it perfectly clear who's calling the shots. The girl who prefers to be called Escorpiana nods and says she will do as she's told. Far away from there, the scene shifts to a large hospital. We quickly realize our heroes are there, anxious to find out how Mayo is doing, since she's the only one on the team without powers. According to the doctor, she fractured a few bones, but she's going to be okay again soon. Looking over at our boy Takedo, the doctor says he also needs to get some rest if he wants his arm to heal up properly. Hyped by the doctor's news, the madman throws his arm up to celebrate, but instantly forgets it's busted. A sick cracking sound echoes from inside the cast, and yeah, that one definitely hurt. Our dude just shuts his mouth and goes dead silent, trying not to scream from the blinding pain shooting through his arm. As he heads for the door, the doc says his goodbyes to our heroes, and tells them to just hit him up if anything goes wrong. Still worried about how their last battle went down, Sakura tries to apologize to Chang Ting, but he just brushes it off. For Ting, this fight is far from over. He knows there will be more chances to snag some new skills. This time, the young woman is more determined than ever, fully committed to facing the challenges and acquiring new powers. Lifting her delicate, seemingly harmless fingertips, Sakura stuns everyone in the room with her newfound magic. Barely believing his own eyes, Takedo just stares at the girl's hands in absolute awe, asking, "What is that?" For anyone who thought the girl's only trick was controlling fire, she just smirks, because her powers go way beyond something so simple. With a flick of her wrist, she summons all 4 elements into her palm, flashing a gorgeous, mischievous grin. And once again, the emotional dude just can't contain his excitement. He's absolutely buzzing about what's coming next. Carefully processing what he's witnessing, our protagonist remembers that in the book, this was actually possible. As far as he could recall, there was a young woman capable of taking on any threat by wielding all 5 elements. In that instant, even Sakura herself is shocked by the sheer amount of power and skill she holds within her. Testing out her new abilities, she discovers that by mixing fire and water, she can launch devastating attacks. By conjuring the elements of the forest, she can heal her allies. But that's not all. When used correctly, the earth element serves as an impenetrable shield, and by unleashing the power of metal, Sakura can fire off powerful, razor-sharp spears. Showing his needy side, young Takedo admits he wishes he could pull off moves like that too. Now that she knows she's basically a superhero, the young woman reveals she needs to talk to Chang Ting. Hyped for what's coming, the young man agrees, saying he's all ears. Looking like she knows something big, she reveals that the government is recruiting a huge team of people with special abilities. After laying out what she knows, Sakura states firmly that she fully intends to join this new squad of fighters, and she invites the young man to come with her. However, as we already know, our invincible hero has zero interest in being part of some government-run team. Noticing her friend's negative response, she keeps pushing, knowing that his help would be clutch. According to Sakura, he'd be a massive asset to the team, since his knowledge could help with all the attack logistics. But, to her deep disappointment, Chang Ting doesn't want to pass up the chance to be an independent operator. There's not much to say at that point, because our brave boy seems dead set on carving out his own solo career. After he makes his position crystal clear, she seems to get his side of things but makes it known he still has her full support. Seizing this opportunity, the completely broke dude says he needs a little cash. Somehow, that seems to make Sakura happy, since according to her, her family has more than enough money to spare. Noticing she's proud of it, he shoots his shot and asks for 1 billion, which leaves Takedo completely mortified. He realizes in that moment he went way too far, and corrects his request, asking for 5 million instead. Seeing her friend is pushing his luck, the girl tries to scold him, telling him he should be ashamed of himself. After that useless lecture, Sakura says she actually has the money, and just needs his account number to wire it over. Takedo nearly has a heart attack when he realizes the girl was dead serious and was actually going to send him that cash. Pulling his friend aside, Chang Ting starts to say his goodbyes, telling him he'll send the account number, but that he needs to bounce. It seems he has some problems to take care of. At that, his friend gets annoyed, because once again, he's making moves without even consulting her or asking for her opinion. So Sakura starts to wonder why young Chang Ting needs such a massive amount of money. Far from there, the story cuts to another scene back at the hospital. From what he remembered, his buddy Ting had given this whole grand speech about the collapse of the monetary system, which makes him question his friend's request. And he gets his answer. They need to set up a mercenary organization, and for that, you need cash. The second he hears this, Takedo gets crazy hyped, because if his buddy is going to be the captain, then obviously, he's going to be the vice captain. First up, our hero needs to go chill out in the mountains. And second, if it comes down to it, he's going to have to go threaten somebody. This has his buddy seriously stressing, because he's suddenly talking like some kind of final boss. But what's really cooking is the grind they need to put in to conquer the next Vismal Seed, a plan so wild it leaves Takedo speechless. He just freezes for a beat. Then, a blood-curdling scream rips through the air, as the kid has a full-blown panic attack by the hospital escalator. Cut to the training academy, a world away. But before we get there, let's smash back to our two heroes, completely sprawled out on the floor, totally gassed from their relentless sparring. On a nearby television, a news anchor's grave voice breaks the silence. He's reporting that the world's very survival now hinges on a special team being assembled to confront these new enemies. The broadcast continues, stating that the security department is scrambling, pulling out all the stops to build a roster of elite specialists capable of saving the planet. Still aching from the brutal session, both Shanteen and Takedo try to piece together a plan, mapping out the next phase of their insane adventure. It's clear the clock is ticking down fast before our heroes must confront one of their greatest trials, the challenge of their lives, and the young man is already daydreaming about that day. In that moment, young Changting leaps to his feet, declaring that time is running short and the day of the battle is fast approaching. However, before he could even finish his train of thought, the boy sees something evil materialize right in front of him. Both friends lunge toward the threat, to try and defend themselves from the brutal attack. Unleashing all her hatred, the scorpion villainess is determined to annihilate our heroes, with her demonic powers. However, just as she was about to unleash her full fury, something completely unexpected happens. Instantly, our hero remembers running into Chang Ting in the hotel corridors, earlier that day. Picking up on a certain spark between them, Takedo asks if his friend knows this creature from somewhere. Throwing herself to the ground in a seriously bold move, the woman tries to seduce our heroes, begging for a little water. But before his friend could do anything foolish, Takedo vaults over to where the water is stored and hands the woman a bottle. That's when something highly unusual occurs, because the sly scorpioness touches his hands. Noticing her friend starting to weaken, the woman asks if he's just going to stay silent, and if he has a girlfriend. Not only that, getting even bolder, the shameless woman provokes him even more. In that instant, the young man no longer knows what's right or wrong, and is left paralyzed by what's happening. With no patience for these little games, Chang Ting snaps, telling the woman to just spit out what's going on. First off, she introduces herself as the Scorpion Woman, a member of the Two Heavenly Stars, a mysterious group of mercenaries. That gorilla that attacked you? He's one of ours? She says with a malicious smirk. Realizing this might be some kind of revenge plot, Takedo draws his weapon and threatens the cursed woman. Trying to calm Chang Ting's frightened friend, the woman says her true intention is to make them a proposal. Before Chang Ting ruins everything, she brings a finger to her lips to signal him to stay quiet. According to her, her captain gave clear orders. If he interferes too much, he can be killed, so he had better remain silent. But Takedo isn't afraid of that threat. After all, she is only one person, and there are two of them. However, in that precise moment, something very strange begins to happen to the young man. His head feels like it's pounding in a bizarre rhythm. The pain becomes unbearable, and he ends up collapsing to the ground. A terrible magic surges through the boy's body, and he feels something different and green taking him over. Chang Ting watches all of this on high alert, with no idea what's happening, as the young man kneels before the Scorpion Woman, gripped by a deep headache that won't fade. Realizing she has control of the situation, the woman begins to hurl a series of nasty comments at the young man. Now is the moment to get the answer she has been waiting for so long. However, both he and his friend are in a state of utter desperation. At that moment, a voice echoes from the back of the room, and it seems they're looking for the Scorpion Woman. Then, 4 new characters burst into our story, and, apparently, one of them is pretty bald. Not knowing how to react, the woman simply screams a terrible curse of desperation. With no clue what the hell is going on, our protagonist seizes the opportunity to question the woman, who explains who they are. The bald old guy calls her an old witch, and seems thrilled to have finally found the sorceress. But in that moment, our hero doesn't fully grasp who these people are or what they want there. To sum up the story, they are a team that is in constant conflict with her, and to make matters worse, she castrated the poor bastard. It was at that instant that the young man jumped and nearly choked on that disgusting piece of information. Swollen with pride, the team of Avengers is there waiting for the moment to attack. Now, the bald guy seems more aggressive than before and is ready for a fight. But our sorceress won't take those insults in silence and begins to stoke the madman's fury even more. It seems he won't rest until he finishes off the Scorpion sorceress, and he's determined to do it. Conjuring her greenish power, the woman casts a powerful spell before everyone's eyes. At that moment, to gain even more power, she also lifted the curse that weighed upon the 2 boys. Gathering all her strength, in that instant the woman rises before everyone and unleashes her powerful magic against those fools. That force was so great, it almost took the form of a terrifying green dragon. But what she didn't expect was that the friends also had a certain level of power, and the one holding a bat just smirked, facing the magic of the powerful witch. The one with the bat raised his weapon to defend the others. In that instant, the sorceress fell silent. Whatever that was supposed to be, it should have worked instantly, but all he got was a dry laugh. All the while, the bald old dude just kept spewing threats and insults at the scorpion woman. Things were, like, so not going according to her master plan. Pushing the assault, one of the guys unleashes a massive cloud of cosmic dust. The sheer force of the attack was insane, and the sorceress's body was sent flying across the room, like a sheet of paper. On the old man's signal to attack, the forces converged right in front of the sorceress to deliver one massive, final blow. But before they could even complete the attack, they heard a series of gunshots ripping through the air, aimed directly at them. It was our boy Taketo, who didn't even give them a second to react before he unloaded his entire clip on them. And he wasn't alone. Chang Ting also vaulted into the fight, even shouting that the scorpion woman was going to owe him a favor after this. In that moment, the enemy squad starts to panic, because they're not sure they can survive the duo's onslaught. With no more hesitation, the gang's leader declared it was time to go all in, knowing full well they couldn't escape. The scorpion woman screamed at the boys to stop them. However, the damn gang knew how to execute some kind of bizarre magic. Before anyone could even notice, those scumbags made a high-speed retreat from the scene with incredible force. In that instant, the sorceress became absolutely furious that the two of them had let her prey escape. Taking a deep breath, the sorceress admits that this whole mess was her fault, but the one thing that brought her some peace of mind was knowing that the two chosen to join the celestial team were, for now, still alive. With his signature cheeky grin, our protagonist asks if she's interested in hearing a proposal. A smile immediately spreads across her face as she asks if he's suggesting she should join their crew. Extending his hand, our hero just smirks and confirms that's exactly the deal on the table. The offer was so blunt that she could hardly believe what she was hearing. Always playing games, she cheekily asks if they've taken a special interest in her. Noticing she was looking better, he asked if she was still injured. Taketo, however, is completely sick of the sorceress's flirty nonsense, but she just shoots him a smile and says it's only natural for a gorgeous woman to enchant men before sensually striding away. She tells them they should seriously consider her invitation. It seems our heroes can finally pour all their efforts into building their own faction. Now it's time for a well-deserved stretch, especially after a throwdown as intense as that one. Realizing he desperately needs a break, Taketo asks how much time they have before the next monsters are scheduled to appear. Far away from there, it looks like our characters are heading back to the big city. Navigating the dense crowd, Taketo seems to spot a gigantic building, and, pointing his finger, he gets the kid's attention and tells his friend to get a load of it. Thinking very carefully about his friend's suggestion, our hero pauses for a few seconds. A moment later, Taketo is already shoving Chang Ting toward the massive concrete structure. Apparently, he's dead set on seeing what the inside looks like. When they arrive, the place is swarming with police, and they see that the corridors are jam-packed with young people. Before they could even speak, someone startles them. A super stylish man appears and asks if they're there to register. With an uneasy grin, Ting asks if he means for their abilities. Apparently, you don't need to have major skills to get in on this. In fact, those abilities can be acquired. Leaning in slightly, the sharp-dressed man introduces himself as Che Guevara and states that he's in charge of Zone 6. That name sends a jolt through our hero. Slowly removing his glasses, the man clocks Chang Ting's stunned reaction. Trying to play it off, the young man claims the name just sounds like a buddy of his. But according to the book Ting had been reading, some people possess numerous, powerful abilities. However, there was one particular character who wanted to dominate every single one of the other ability users. That person was known by the name Che Guevara, and during the end of the world, he would be a critical figure. At the start of the story, Ting was reading. This man held a position of authority, but throughout his journey, he built up a powerful group. At first, this guy didn't pose much of a threat, but that changed over time, and he morphed into someone incredibly dangerous. But the most mind-blowing part of his story was when the Great Portal number 6 was torn open at the end of the chapter he appears in. The man would come out on top, but that victory marked the true beginning of the end. After winning that battle in the book, this Che Guevara proclaimed himself king for a certain period of time. His destiny, however, was already sealed when a band of mercenaries chose to attack him. Ultimately, his journey ended with a death that would signal the rise of a new leader and a whole new era in history. Our protagonist thinks that getting the silver-haired guy on their team would be a huge win. He asks for a tour of the place, saying that even without any powers, he wants to protect his nation. The man agrees, ushering the heroes toward his office to give them the full rundown. A goon in a cap reports to his boss, confirming the place is locked down tight and crawling with hidden personnel. The boss just waves him off, totally unbothered, saying he's only clocked 3 ability users in the entire building. Meanwhile, the blonde villain smirks, asking if the target is in his sights. Elsewhere in the city, an isolated building stands far from the main zone. A blonde-haired man with a twisted grin confirms it, declaring he's greenlit for the assault. A 5-minute countdown kicks off, with a total of 15 minutes to execute the mission. In the middle of the food court, someone screams Roger's name. At that exact moment, our heroes are in the office, being served tea. Their host remarks that it's his personal favorite, smiling as he offers them their cups. The protagonist gives a polite thanks, but he turns it down flat, saying he's not a tea guy, and pointing out that they're both being way too cautious. The silver-haired figure drops the act. His expression turns deadly serious as he cuts straight to the point, asking what they're really looking for. Both of them are thrown off, not immediately getting the question. The silver-haired man lays it out plain and simple. They have to be ability users, and he knows they didn't come here to join up. His next observation hits hard. The protagonist clearly knows exactly who he's talking to. The kid tries to play it cool, defusing the tension by claiming he just shares a name with a friend. Then comes the reveal. Since childhood, a special intuition has guided this man, letting him see things that slip past everyone else. And right now, he feels like he's standing in front of someone familiar. The wild part? He has no idea who this person is. With a piercing gaze, he demands to know who this visitor is and what he wants here. A crushing pressure descends, leaving the kid in shock. Still, he tries to explain, saying he gets the suspicion but swears they're just normal people. The other man isn't buying it. He says some truths can't be found in words and decides to send them in for interrogation. Without any warning, the heroes are instantly warped to an unknown location. The silver-haired figure explains that they're inside a special, highly advanced device. Not even someone who could take down a level 3 abyssal seed could break out of it. Right then, the lecture is cut short as the barrier shatters right before his eyes. Stunned, he stares at the kid, who's now looking back with an unshakable resolve. Shaking out his arm, the young man admits that might be true, but that it's still not enough. With one precise strike, he completely obliterates the magical shield. Our protagonist finally admits he's an ability user, but he hopes the other man will believe him. He clarifies that he means no harm, regardless. The silver-haired man analyzes the situation, thinking the kid's ability must be physical enhancement, at least a level 4 out of 5. He concludes that he has no choice but to trust him, because if the kid actually wanted to cause trouble, there would be no way to stop him. Laughing, our hero asks if he really seems like a bad guy. Just then, a massive explosion erupts right behind the three of them. Our protagonist whips around, a flash of panic on his face. He and his friend snap back to back, covering each other's blind spots. The silver-haired man just growls, his eyes locked on the developing chaos. In that instant, he activates a secret device concealed within his clothes. The silver-haired man unleashes a swift kick, deploying the device to shield them from the explosive flames. Smoke billows out, engulfing the entire room. The characters are left completely blind. Peering through the haze, the silver-haired man figures the protagonist must have some resistance to elemental attacks. But seeing our hero getting scorched, he realizes the kid isn't completely immune to them either. Everyone tenses up as a voice crackles over the radio, confirming the facility is under attack by hostiles. The kid turns to the silver-haired man, pleading with him to trust him this time, promising he's here to help. After a moment's thought, the man replies that the protagonist's eyes aren't lying. He chooses to believe him. The three of them bolt from the room, with the silver-haired man leading them toward the first-floor lobby. We see an ordinary-looking building that suddenly sprouts multiple weapon emplacements from its windows. Lining up his shot, the enemy sniper grumbles about how fast they're responding to the assault. He admits he underestimated the enemy, but unfortunately for them, that alone won't be nearly enough. With a wicked grin, his sniper rifle charges with a beam of pure energy. He declares the target is locked, and now he's going to annihilate everything. The building is hammered by the sniper's energized blasts. The impact causes massive destruction. After the shot, the villain radios his boss, reporting that he's successfully suppressed the enemy. The boss orders his crew to move in, commanding them to proceed with the operation. Inside, an employee screams that the building is under attack. We watch the villains storm through the doors, clashing with the building's security. The boss asks if 1 minute is enough for his henchmen to take care of them, and the goon just scoffs, saying he only needs 10 seconds. With a smirk plastered across his face, the boss kicks off a countdown. His lackey just chuckles, muttering about how his boss is so meticulous. The building's ability users shout that the villain's actions are straight-up terrorism and that they need to surrender. The countdown hits 5 seconds. Just then, 3 heroes lunge at the henchmen. One of them screams out in shock, realizing the villain has vanished. In a blink, we see the villain has already phased through the 3 heroes, flicking red splatter from his blade with a grin. The goon remarks that it took exactly 10 seconds. The guards yell, "Open fire," and unleash a storm of bullets. In that instant, using some kind of psychic power, the evil mastermind freezes the bullets in midair, A panicked guard screams that the guy's an absolute monster. Performing a deadly dance, the villain sends the bullets spiraling around him before coming to a dead stop with a chilling stare. With a flick of his wrist, every single bullet flies back and slams into the guards. He strikes a theatrical pose, taking a bow. Then, turning to his crew, he announces they have 14 minutes left. They need to find their target, and fast, while staying on high alert. He hears a voice. "Look out." The villain's expression twists into shock as he spots a bullet frozen, just inches from his face. And in that moment, we see the protagonist and his two allies crash onto the scene with epic style. The blonde sniper on the team notes that the intel service completely botched the report. It looks like they're up against two more ability users than they planned for. After asking to play with our heroes for a bit, the boss just says not to take too long, and the sniper replies, "Got it." Channeling a massive amount of power, the sniper declares he's switching to explosive rounds and loads his rifle. The silver-haired man demands to know who these people are. Laughing, the villain boss says he assumes the guy with the silver hair is the one in charge around here. The villain formally introduces himself. His name is John West, an affiliate of the Roosevelt Mercenary Corporation. A worried look flashes across the silver-haired man's face as he processes the name of that mercenary group. Our hero, meanwhile, is floored, thinking that in the novel, there was never any mention of these mercs, which probably means they aren't a big-name crew in the future. Right then, the silver-haired man asks who sent them. The villain shoots back that as a professional mercenary, he can't just leak client information, and if he really wants to know, he can go to hell and ask the devil himself. As they size up the villains, the hero's team is ambushed by a shot from behind. The protagonist's partner yells, warning them that there's a sniper. In a single, insane motion, he whips out his own weapon and fires directly at the incoming bullet, knocking it off its path. And just like that, the two snipers begin trading shots again. With atomic precision, several bullets ricochet off each other, creating a chain of explosions. The villain sniper just laughs, yelling that this is exactly the action he was hoping for, and that he wants even more. With a twisted smile, he holds up a special round, daring the protagonist's friend to handle this one. You see the bullet fly, crackling with an immense amount of energy. The hero's partner immediately knows that this bullet is on a completely different level. Readying his gun, he fires, shouting that this is his fifth shot. As he fires his own powerful round, a massive explosion erupts, kicking up a huge cloud of smoke. The villain boss says to Josh that he's finally found a worthy rival. Our blonde teammate says the opponent is an insanely strong sniper, and that maybe they should, but before he can even finish, the protagonist cuts him off, declaring the enemy is too dangerous, and they don't even know his position. With a grim expression, he says they're in a bad spot and their chances of victory are practically zero. Using an advanced warfare technique, he orders his friends to bail. Smashing through a wall with a flying kick, the hero and his squad make a desperate escape. The villain boss praises the smart move, and the sniper says he's got them lined up, taking aim at our boys' group. But he gets an order to stick to the primary mission. Permission denied. Grumbling in disgust, he complains that he can't just ditch the fight. After finally meeting his match, gasping for breath, the protagonist tells his team that this spot should be safe for now. He apologizes to the silver-haired man, saying that there was no other choice but to fall back in that situation. But the man surprises him by agreeing with the hero's decision, though he notes that he seriously underestimated his country's special agents. Grabbing a phone from a device on his leg, the silver-haired man makes a call, his face dead serious. He says to notify the special ability user forces and that they need to move on it immediately. After the call, he lights a cigarette with incredible style. He orders the hero and his crew to get going now. The protagonist is lost in his own thoughts. He's straight up doubting that a special forces for ability users even exists. Then, the scene cuts to inside the building, and boom, the villain and his entire crew are completely frozen, pinned down by these very special forces. Their leader is absolutely livid, losing his mind, screaming about how his powers could have just fizzled out. In a fit of pure rage, he snarls, calling the guards monsters. Just then, one of the agents shoves the guy's face toward the floor, forcing him to get a real good look. Dripping with sarcasm, he throws the villain's own words right back at him. With a look of pure disgust, he spits that the only real monsters in the room are the villain and his crew. One of his men reports in. They lost the sniper. The dude was just too damn slippery. The special agent's captain just scoffed, dismissing him as nothing but a scared little rat scurrying away. As he's being restrained, the villain starts ranting that this can't be happening, he was chosen by the gods, and he possessed the talent of a freaking genius. As they haul him off to prison, he just keeps screaming the same delusional lines over and over. The silver-haired man strolls up with our MC and his buddy, giving a nod to the special agents, and saying they never fail to impress. Silverhair introduces our guy to the lead agent, announcing his name as Black Panther. He explains that this guy holds a pretty high-stakes position within the ability user forces. He's the captain of the 4th District. A flash of memory hits our hero. He knows this man, Black Panther. He remembers him as the single most powerful member of Silverhair's old mercenary crew. They had fought side by side, all the way to the bitter end. The agent lets out a chuckle and offers the two guys a smoke. Feeling a bit awkward, they both politely turn him down. He takes a long drag, blowing out the smoke with a grin, and asks if our MC recognizes him. Our hero just says, it's the first time they've met, but in his head, he's just thinking, what kind of absolute monsters does this silver-haired dude surround himself with? He flicks the cigarette onto the pavement, grinds it out with his boot, and makes his exit, saying he's got other business to handle, but tells them to hit him up if they ever need anything. Then he pauses, glancing back over his shoulder, and tells his silver-haired buddy, dead serious, that he wants those 2 kids in his department. His colleague just laughs, commenting on what an absolute beast of a warrior he is. Then he turns to our MC and his friend, asking if they're interested in joining the squad. Our protagonist replies that, if they're in a pinch, he'll do what he can to help out, but honestly, he'd rather just live a quiet, simple life. Silverhair gets it, telling him the offer stands. If he ever changes his mind, he knows where to find them. He explains he can't stick around. He's got to manage the cleanup from this whole disaster. So, they say their goodbyes and part ways. He casually throws out a question, like he's just confirming something. So, the next abyss opens in 4 days, right? But our guy immediately shuts that down. Our MC is totally floored for a second. Then he realizes Silverhair's trick, and can't help but hide a smirk. He's just picked up on the fact that our protagonist knows things about the future that he absolutely shouldn't. With a friendly expression, he stays quiet. As he leaves, he just says he'll see them in 5 days. The scene shifts to our 2 guys walking down a city sidewalk, deep in conversation. Our hero just states it flat out. The silver-haired guy is a monster. His buddy shoots back, asking if our guy is any different. The question hits home, and our protagonist starts to wonder if they really are the same. He stops in his tracks thinking, is he actually the only one of his kind in the world? Or are there others out there, living in the shadows? His friend claps him on the back, snapping him out of it, telling him to focus on the next abyss coming up fast, and that they need a game plan. With a new fire in his eyes, our MC declares that the next abyss is going to be his and his alone. He figures that if he's not the only special being on the planet, then he has no choice but to keep leveling up, to get stronger, just to make it out alive. The camera pans over a scene cordoned off with yellow police tape blocking the entire area. From a high vantage point, we get a sweeping shot of the city, a major avenue completely locked down by cops. After using his ability to scope out the situation, the blonde friend says it looks hopeless. Our hero just groans that it hurts so bad he could actually cry. Suddenly, a loud banging erupts from their door, a voice shouting for her little bro to open up, "'Cause Big Sis is here." Both guys freeze. They know that voice. His buddy freaks out, asking how the hell that woman tracked them down and what they're gonna do. The pounding on the door gets even louder as she yells curses at them, warning that Big Sis is about to lose her cool. Then, out of nowhere, an ability ripples across the door, and a hand punches right through the wood. The redhead bursts in, flanked by 2 goons. The guy with brown hair gives them a smirk and says, "Long time no see." Our 2 guys just groan in disgust, glaring daggers at the intruders. Just then, the brown-haired dude gets a hard slap across the face from the redhead, who tells him to get lost. With 2 rather large assets, front and center, she says, not to worry, she's just there on business. Our protagonist can only stare, completely stunned. "So, you're actually here to do business?" The man in the vest smirks, noting that the kid should already know the other 2 before he introduces himself. He declares he's the captain of the Celestial 2 Stars, revealing his name, Badger. The protagonist's friend absolutely loses it, bursting into laughter at the guy's name. Badger shoots a look at his subordinate. "I really should have changed my name," he mutters. "Now a kid is clowning on me." The hero, however, is lost in thought. He recalls that this man's name was never once mentioned in the novel, which could only mean one thing. This guy was destined to be another casualty who wouldn't survive the coming storm. Badger gets straight to the point. He reveals that a new abyss is set to appear tonight, something they should already be aware of, and states that the location is under heavy lockdown, meaning the hero must have chosen this place for a specific reason. The protagonist cuts in, asking if they're looking for help with the impending abyss seed. The captain's face turns serious as he confirms it, but our hero rejects the proposal flat out. The other man sputters, saying he hasn't even heard the terms of the deal yet, but the protagonist instantly fires back that it's pointless because there's 0 chance of success. He points out that even if they miraculously succeeded, they would draw the fury of the entire 6th District. They would be hunted, and not just by the 6th District alone. He explains that at that point, they would become enemies of the state and no set of conditions could ever be good enough to make that trade worthwhile. The man in the vest grins, admitting the hero is far beyond his expectations and that the redhead's analysis of him was spot on. His brown-haired subordinate then steps forward, asking if the item he's holding might be enough to change his mind. Inside the bag, two crystals glow intensely, one a piercing blue, the other a vibrant yellow. The protagonist's friend stares with greedy eyes, whispering, "Are those abyss stones?" The hero's mind races, his thoughts consumed by the two powerful gems. The captain explains that the stone on the left is for body enhancement, but unfortunately, it proved to be incompatible with him. As for the second stone, he continues, its previous owner has already made your acquaintance. His blonde friend, with a goofy look, asks who he means, wondering if it's the sniper before bursting into laughter. The captain confirms his guess with a nod. He tells the protagonist that despite the hell he went through to defeat the sniper, the outcome was certainly a profitable one. He reveals that both stones are a 100% match for the hero. With a sly grin, he asks, once more, if our guy would now consider their proposition. Whispering, his friend asks him, if killing a skill user means their power reverts back into stones. The hero explains that only a small number of skill users crystallize into abyss stones upon death. Bubbling with excitement, his friend says, that opportunity and risk always go hand in hand. The protagonist, annoyed, snaps back, asking if he has a death wish, and warns him to be more careful if he wants to stay alive. Our hero then turns back to the matter at hand, apologizing to the man in the vest before confirming that he will have to decline the offer. With a look of disappointment, the man sighs, shocked that even two perfect stones couldn't tempt the protagonist. The brown-haired man asks in utter disbelief if the kid is really going to pass up this kind of opportunity. He's then seen putting the abyss stone back into the pouch. The captain tells the hero he won't force him, but that the sniper's stone should be considered a gift. At that moment, the brown-haired man loudly objects to his captain, but a terrifying glare from his boss silences him. We see the brown-haired man literally slap himself across the face and declare that he'll shut up now. As the captain's group leaves, he says that there will be chances for them to cooperate again in the future. The protagonist watches the three of them depart, deep in thought. Complaining to the captain, the subordinate says he can't understand why he'd give away such a rare item like an abyss stone. The captain, a smirk playing on his lips, asks him about his opinion on their relationship and what kind of bond he thinks the two of them share. Are we just friends, partners, or are we like a captain and his crew? The subordinate, completely baffled, asks what he's even trying to say. The captain then retorts, saying that if he had half the redhead's intelligence, he would understand and wouldn't waste his salary on drinks. Leaving his subordinate behind, he orders them to leave. The brown-haired man whispers to the redhead, asking her what the captain meant by that. She gives him a look of pure contempt, also turns her back on him, and walks away. Meanwhile, the brown-haired man is left behind, grumbling to himself. The hero's friend asks him what his intentions were in giving him such a rare gift. He responds that even if the intentions weren't good, he had to accept it because a compatible stone is an incredibly rare find. Following the hero's advice, his friend immediately absorbs the stone. He's shown to be completely blown away by the stone's effect. The moment he unleashes his ability, a colossal wave of power erupts from his eye, confirming the absorption was a massive success. The energy blast is so intense it floods the building's exterior with light. His friend celebrates, yelling that they totally hit the jackpot, because his effective range just leaped from 2 kilometers to 3. Showing off the new skill, he boasts that any target within 500 meters has zero chance of hiding, not even behind solid cover. Combined with his weapon, his accuracy is now a guaranteed 100% within his line of sight. Blown away, our guy hypes up his friend's insane secondary skill, but a somber look suddenly clouds the hero's friend's face. He mutters that they should have just accepted the deal. They could have walked away with both stones. Our protagonist, however, thinks to himself, he can absorb any type of stone, but that's a secret he is never telling a soul. They debate whether they should loop in their silver-haired friend about the abyss, but our hero shuts it down as unnecessary. Thinking back, the blonde friend shudders, saying the silver-haired guy is a straight-up monster and gives him the creeps. Our protagonist remembers that this fifth abyss is a long haul, a critical window for humanity to adapt. They have to level up now, or they'll be left in the dust. His partner, worried, asks how they're supposed to recruit anyone for their team. Lost in thought, the hero considers the silver-haired man and the redhead, but dismisses them both, knowing there's a better option out there. His mind flashes back to the silver-haired man, a certified monster, and he shivers, remembering that the fifth abyss will drag on, giving humans a crucial chance to adapt. They either seize it or fall behind. The protagonist recalls that the silver-haired man is an absolute freak of nature, scrapping both ideas as he focuses on another possibility. He mentally kicks himself, realizing how stupid he was to forget someone so important. He remembers a person who was only mentioned a couple of times in the novel, but is so insanely powerful they eventually join the legendary 12 constellations. The person with this skill mentioned they acquired it in the district sector, at a center for disabled children. While his friend seems skeptical, the protagonist is convinced this person would be a game-changing addition to their crew. The hero suddenly bolts, yelling that they need to head to a certain location. His friend scrambles after him, demanding to know where they're going, and hoping this isn't just another wild goose chase. The scene cuts to kids playing on a playground, as the two heroes confront another man. The man greets the pair and asks them what they're doing there. Playing it cool, our guy says he heard about the organization, and is here to make an investment. Instantly thrilled, the man welcomes him and introduces himself as Shufei, the director of the organization. He invites the heroic duo inside the complex to discuss things further, but out of nowhere, a voice calls out the director's name, announcing that it's time to pay up because a month has already passed. Just then, a whole gang of thugs storms the place, laughing. Unable to hide his shame, the director apologizes and says he needs to take care of this matter first. He politely addresses the other man as Boss-san, pleading for a few more days, swearing he's about to secure an investment. The man scoffs, saying they had the exact same conversation last month, but the director begs for one more chance. The man violently shoves the director, snarling that he needs to pay the debt with cash, or with the land itself. The director's face is a mask of pure fury as he hides it, his expression filled with despair. He begs for just one last opportunity. The villain sneers that this is a prime spot to build a resort, and as of today, it's all his, ordering his goons to clear out all the kids from the park. The villain lets out a furious scream. The director shouts that El Chang has gone way too far. The two heroes quietly debate if they should step in. The villain urges his crew to handle the problem fast. The director plants himself in their path, telling them they've gone far enough, and that he will pay the debt. A wicked grin spreads across the boss's face, as he replies he was hoping he'd never pay. This was his plan all along. With pure contempt in his eyes, he spits that he doesn't care about disabled children, and that they're nothing but a burden on his life. The director tells Boss-san not to force his hand. With a sarcastic tone, the villain asks what, exactly, he thinks he's going to do to stop them. The director's face darkens instantly, as he falls silent. A moment later, we see him activate an ability, a black mist swirling around him, from which a massive demonic figure materializes. Right behind him, the lead villain immediately collapses, completely terrified by the demonic creature. His goons freak out over their boss's condition, and one of them screams that their leader is having a seizure and they have to get him to a hospital. Now, whispering to the protagonist, we see his friend, with a look of deep concern as the thugs flee the scene. A smirk plays on the hero's lips as he calmly watches the situation unfold. Back inside, the director apologizes for what they just had to witness and offers them water. Our guy cuts straight to the chase, asking how long he's had that ability. The director plays dumb, asking what he's talking about, acting completely clueless and trying to deflect the question. Model. Our hero cuts straight to the point. This world, it's changed, and you, director, know that better than anyone. He explains how their reality has warped into a playground for the Abyss Seed, and all the while, the director just stands there in dead silence. He keeps going, warning that over time, the very fabric of their world and all its rules will continue to twist and break. Our boy points out that the director has an insane ability, one he probably thinks is enough to protect the organization and the kids. But he immediately shuts that idea down. Let's be real, though, that's impossible. Don't even kid yourself, because at the end of the day, the power of a single person is ridiculously limited. More and more people are awakening to the Abyss Seed's power, leveling up like crazy. Trying to shield the kids all by himself is a straight-up suicide mission. The director finally snaps, his voice booming with rage. What exactly are you getting at? And what is your purpose for being here? The kid just smirks. Right. Introductions. Our hero then drops his name and his friends, laying it all out. We're here today to recruit you to our team. Completely stunned, the director asks, are you from some government agency? Shaking his head, the protagonist denies it. Nah, we're not affiliated with anyone. You can just think of us as a small mercenary crew. The director's face clouds over with worry, thinking about the constant danger and dragging the children into that life. Our hero just gives a firm nod. That's exactly what it'll be, he confirms. As the director starts to refuse, he's cut off. Yeah, it's dangerous, but you'll have way more protection and resources than you have now. He urges him to seriously consider the offer, reminding him what happens once the laws of the land lose all their power. This world will be run by whoever has the strongest abilities. With a dead serious look, the young man challenges him, how do you plan to deal with that? And brings up the incident with Boss Zhang as an example. Sure, you used your ability on him, But what happens when someone even stronger shows up? The director is speechless, completely unable to answer. The hero lays down the final offer. If you truly want to protect those kids, you have to join us. I promise, as long as I'm breathing, I will protect you both. Lost in his thoughts, the director keeps muttering to himself, what should I do? Our protagonist tells him not to rush the decision. Take all the time you need to think it over. And with that, the duo turns and walks right out of the building. His partner praises him for his smooth talking, then asks, so, for real, what kind of ability does the director have? The kid replies that it's one of the most terrifying skills out there, called Nightmare. His friend just stares, repeating the name in disbelief. Nightmare? Our protagonist explains that it's a super unique power that can literally drag someone into a world created by the user, just by making eye contact. He explains that the stronger the user gets, the more powerful and twisted the nightmare becomes, and any damage taken inside that nightmare is mirrored on your actual, physical body. The blonde friend's eyes go wide with shock. Wait, isn't an ability like that basically invincible? He asks. Our hero confirms it's definitely considered one of the most OP skills, but it has one massive flaw, he adds. The user has to make direct eye contact with the target to even activate it. Not only that, but if the opponent has mental fortitude that overpowers the users, they can actually counterattack. The protagonist's friend thinks it over. Damn, so the ability is powerful, but it's also a huge gamble, and it can totally backfire on its owner. Right then, his phone goes off. He answers it quick and breaks into a grin. Awesome, that was fast. He informs our hero that their secret base is all set up, way ahead of schedule. All of a sudden, the director bursts out of the building, surprising them both. With a knowing smile, our hero says, looks like you've made a decision. With absolute conviction, the director says, you're right, the world has changed. Therefore, to protect the children, I will join you, he declares, extending his hand. Our hero promises he'll keep his word. The two then shake hands, sealing the agreement. The director casually asks what the mercenary group is called, and the blonde friend admits they haven't picked a name yet. The protagonist thinks for a moment, a confident smile spreading across his face as he makes up his mind. From this day forward, he announces, the group will be called Forcier. It means the one who sees beyond, like a seer. We then cut to the duo, cruising through the mountains. They're driving a car. In the back, the kids ask the director if they're there yet, and if there will be new toys. And, of course, they're hungry. With a kind smile, the director tells them they're almost there while handing out some food. We watch the van pull to a stop as it reaches its destination. Turning to the front, the director asks the protagonist if this is the place. The camera then reveals a massive mansion, protected by barbed wire and featuring a gorgeous fountain in the center. Off in the distance, we see the enormous house surrounded by a beautiful, perfectly kept yard. Takedo's eyes are literally sparkling with joy at their new base. The happy children immediately bolt out and run ahead as the director yells at them to slow down. An elderly man comes out to welcome the hero and his new crew. Takedo gives the man a thumbs up, calling him second uncle. He tells them they crushed it, but warns them to keep this on the down low. The captain is still not one of the good guys. He clocks his second uncle, who's sweating buckets, and calls him out. You're getting way too old to be this reckless. But our hero is the only one giving the trembling old man a suspicious glare. Suddenly, a shout rips through the air. Everyone, freeze! Instantly, the director, swarmed by the children, anxiously demands to know what's going on. His buddy turns to our protagonist, his face etched with worry, asking what's up. Our guy just glares at the second uncle. Aren't you gonna say something? While his friend shoots him a furious look, the old man just collapses to his knees, breaking down into tears and apologies, swearing it wasn't his fault, that they forced him. Our protagonist rips open a dimensional pocket to grab his weapon as Takedo gets into a ready stance. Just then, a noise echoes from deep inside the mansion. We watch as a door creaks open. In that tense moment, the hero duo's eyes are glued to the doorway. We hear footsteps, then a single boot steps into view, revealing Sakura and her jaw-dropping figure. She smirks, saying, just as I thought. You used the cash to start your own crew, adding that the base is in a prime location. Our hero snaps at her, telling her to never pull a stunt like that again. But she just claps back. You run your own mercenary group and you're still jumping at shadows? She scoffs, as Takedo groans in frustration. He complains that he almost blasted her by accident. Gesturing to the side, the stunning woman asks if he's a new member. So, the protagonist introduces the director to his friend. She sizes him up and says, not bad. That makes 4 members in your little mercenary crew now. Then she's dragging our hero inside, saying they need to talk more. His friend, completely stunned, asks what is even happening, but our guy is totally speechless. The director is desperately trying to wrangle the kids who are now running wild all over the mansion. Sakura tells the protagonist to follow her, saying she's going to show him the operations room. We see a door cracked open, a brilliant light spilling out from inside. It swings wide to reveal a room with a massive screen, leaving Takeda absolutely floored. Thanks to the second uncle's work, Sakura reveals, I orchestrated all of this. You should think of it as a rental, which means you'll be paying me back later. Our boy demands to know what this is all about. Sakura just smiles. Oh, I've thought of everything. She continues that playing by her family's rules is boring and way too restrictive, so she decided to throw in with the hero. She announces that from this point forward, all expenses are on her tab, and the group can finally breathe easy. Takedo is practically begging for them to let Sakura join, hyping up her insane potential. Our hero has to admit, it would be a huge advantage, gaining access to weapons and resources, plus her skills as a top-tier user. But her high-profile status could seriously blow up in their faces, so Takedo pushes him. Dude, what's the holdup? Just then, the camera cuts to Sakura. She's staring him down, dead serious. Since you're not saying no, she declares, I'll take that as a yes. Captain, I'm in your hands now, she affirms. While Taketo is still pleading his case, our hero just lets out a laugh and finally greets Sakura, welcoming her to the team. Sakura immediately critiques their crew's name, saying she was expecting something that sounded a bit more invincible. Blindsided, the guy asks if the name is really that cliché. Sakura just grins and motions for the two of them to follow her. I've got something that's gonna blow your minds. Meanwhile, the director is still on kid wrangling duty. He sighs that they're all so happy it's impossible to catch them all. The kids are cute, Sakura remarks. But now, she says, we're gonna need a support team just to watch over them. She tells him to leave that to her, and the director thanks her profusely for the help. Puffing her chest out proudly, Sakura states that as vice captain, it's her job. He thanks her again. The woman tells the group to hang tight for a moment. After she gets the kids sorted out, she'll be right back to show them the real surprise. Our protagonist thinks his friend's actions are low-key suspicious, as they seem way too comfortable with this whole situation. She leads them to a spot where a massive door looms behind her. She turns to the three of them and asks, You guys ready for this? Winking, she mentions that she didn't have time to implement all the upgrades, so she'll just have to use the remote. Don't sweat the details, she says, hitting a button. A massive door slowly slides open, unleashing a blinding light from within. Hyped for the big reveal, the three of them stare intently. We're shown a room packed with high-tech gear, a full-blown gym, and tons of exercise equipment. Takedo, totally blown away, stammers, Is this going to be our training ground? Looking back at a piece of equipment, our protagonist asks what that was. His friend, squinting, says it looked like the gear that silver-haired dude was using. The rich girl reveals that it's a state-of-the-art exoskeleton. And with it, even a regular soldier can go toe-to-toe with an ability user. She explains the suit jacks up your strength and speed, and that the even better next-gen version will also be delivered to them first. Completely floored, Takedo bows down like he's in the presence of a goddess. But the girl is clearly annoyed. She explains that the ability user inhibitor is top-secret government tech, and tragically, she hasn't managed to get her hands on it yet. Our hero flashes back to a scene of special agents neutralizing villains, their powers suddenly vanishing into thin air. At this early stage, she figures it's a solid strategy against most ability users, but anyone over level 10 won't even feel it. The blonde dude, his curiosity piqued, asks what that gadget was. In a sheer panic, the pink-haired woman screams at him not to touch it. Next thing you know, we see his dumbfounded face as he accidentally slams the button. In that exact moment, a projectile zips past his head. The projectile nearly nails the director, who jumps out of his skin. The blonde guy, totally clueless, yells out that he was super scared. The woman explains it was a shooting simulator, designed to train their reaction time. The director just thinks they look like a bunch of amateurs, and starts wondering if it's too late to bail on this team. Turning to our hero, she calls him Dear Captain, and asks if she should hire a professional instructor to train them. He immediately asks if she's talking about Uncle Bay. She says no. The person she's got in mind is the guy who trained Uncle Bay, the one who's basically been the master instructor for her entire family. Our protagonist wants to know if he's trustworthy and won't stir up trouble. Beaming with pride, she says he's absolutely reliable, not to mention he's her godfather, and he's been retired for years. Our hero agrees, telling her he'll count on him. Overjoyed, she says she'll call him right away. While the three of them wait, we see her on the phone, chatting with someone. Giving them an okay sign, she hangs up and says he'll be there tomorrow, so they better rest up because the training is going to be hell. The blonde dude, terrified, starts freaking out about hell training, his mind already racing with horrible scenarios. He drops to his knees, wailing dramatically. One day later, we get an exterior shot of the mansion. Then, we see someone rolling up in a wheelchair as the woman fumes with rage. An old man named Marinson greets the kids. The three of them start whispering, questioning how this old man could possibly train them, especially since he seems to have a broken arm. Furious, the woman demands to know what happened, and if he snuck off to go fishing again. The old man tries to play it off, saying it's his only hobby, but his wife caught him red-handed, and he ended up falling into a ditch. With total confidence, the geezer says he only needs one leg and one arm to train them that way. He won't hurt them too badly. Then asks if that sounds a little arrogant. The three argue back that the world has changed, with superhumans crawling all over the place. The woman insists her godfather is right and warns the kids not to be fooled, because he could still wipe the floor with them. The blonde dude scoffs, saying he doesn't buy it. Laughing, the old man replies that kids these days are getting way too cocky. He then invites the young ones to a little sparring session, promising to teach them a lesson. The blonde, full of swagger, says that, even though his build isn't focused on physical strength, his skills are miles beyond a normal person's, and asks if the old-timer really wants to go through with this. Goading him, the old man just says, "Hit me." We see Taketo's fist start glowing with energy. In the next panel, he just lightly taps Murensen's arm with his finger. Completely irritated, the old man yells at him to land a real punch, and Sakura eggs him on to do it. Cracking his knuckles, Taketo asks if he can really go all out. Murensen confirms it, warning him to be careful. Taketo throws a lightning-fast punch. In a split second, we see Taketo's eyes bulge in shock as he gets hit with a precise counterattack from the old man's single finger. Tumbling across the ground and screaming in agony, Taketo yells that Murensen has no honor, and totally set him up. Picking his nose like it's nothing, Murensen just mutters that his speed is pathetic. Chang Tin, a smirk plastered on his face, says it's his turn now. He explains his ability is physical enhancement, so he'll start at 10% of his power so he doesn't accidentally injure him. We watch as energy swirls around Chang Tin's wrist. The very instant he's about to land the blow, he's stopped cold by just two of Murensen's fingers. Staring at his trembling hand, Chang Tin can't even process what just happened. Murensen just shouts at him to keep going. More determined, Chang Tin declares he'll now use 30% of his strength. And once again, Murensen shuts him down with a single, silent motion. Chang Tin is still shaking from being stopped again. The old man then praises his solid stance, admitting he's worthy of his skills. Taketo shouts at Chang Tin not to hold anything back, because Murensen is a monster, and the pain is real. With fiery determination, Chang Tin announces he's now using 100% of his power. The hero charges forward, unleashing a devastating punch. Effortlessly, Murensen taps 3 spots with his finger, all while sitting in his wheelchair. Chang Tin, completely disoriented, stammers that his arm is totally numb, his face twisted in pain. He asks if Murensen is even human. Suddenly, a scream of pain rips through the air. The camera pans to reveal Murensen clutching his own hand, writhing in agony. Waving his arms around, Chang Ting shouts, "Seriously, couldn't you have held back just a little?" His eyes wide with disbelief, Chang Ting asks what kind of insane skill that was, while Murensen just wonders if the kid has even recovered yet. He smirks, saying it's unbelievable, then asks if he's finally convinced of his abilities now. Chang Ting can't help but shower him with praise. Sakura chimes in, "See, my grandpa's a legend, just like I told you." She adds that back when he was still on active duty, he was. But just then, Murensen cuts his granddaughter off with a sharp cough. Blown away by his skill, the blonde dude insists the old man has to start teaching them immediately. The old man explains that this is his own unique ability, and it's tough to master, but it will definitely be useful. It's a specialized technique. It precisely targets an opponent's pressure points, completely immobilizing them, making it absolutely lethal in close-quarters combat. He points out that mastering this skill drastically boosts your chances of survival and victory. Our hero declares that from now on, they're counting on Grandpa. The entire group bows to the old man as a sign of respect. He replies that the special training starting now is going to be absolute hell. With a grim look, he announces they should get started. The scene shifts to the fighting octagon, already echoing with the sounds of brutal impacts. In a chaotic fight scene, we see everyone rushing the old man, who's just sitting in his wheelchair. He glances around, expertly maneuvering the chair and dodging every single attack. His granddaughter tries to land a punch from the side, but he casually blocks it with his palm. In that instant, she tags out with the protagonist, who launches another strike at the old man. He manages to block the punch, but you can see the effort it takes. Seizing the opening, our hero unleashes a blinding flurry of punches. As the old man backs up, defending against the onslaught, a powerful knee strike gets blocked by his forearm. He swiftly grabs our boy, who groans in agony. With one devastating blow, the kid is sent flying several meters back. Everyone just stares in shock. The veteran then announces that training is over for the day. Instantly, they all collapse onto the floor. Utterly exhausted, they ask the woman what's on the menu for dinner tonight. Panting for breath, she snaps, "It's sub-captain to you," before turning to the director, feeling sick to her stomach, and asking what's for dinner. The director, arm draped over his face, groans that he's about to puke and asks the protagonist what they're eating. Our hero replies that dinner is instant noodles. Stroking his mustache, the old man watches them. He muses that these kids are exceptionally talented, thinking that this one, in particular, has a real gift for martial arts, even if he is a little slow on the uptake. Just then, a phone buzzes in our hero's pocket. Still wiped out, he answers the call. The blonde guy asks the protagonist who's hitting him up. Getting to his feet, the kid calls the other three over, announcing their group has its first mission. His friend hypes him up, saying the kid is seriously capable, already landing secret missions. The old man gives them a warning. Even though their combat skills have leveled up big time, there's always someone stronger out there. After they leave the training area, the old man breaks down, crying out from all the aches and pains in his body. Now sitting down, Chang Ting's crew asks him what the mission is. With a grin, he reveals it's a direct request from Che Guen. Taketo is floored, asking if it's really from him, and Sakura clarifies, "You mean the officer in charge of the 6th district?" With a hand on her chin, she points out that if Che Guen is asking for help, the situation has to be seriously dangerous. Chang Ting admits he's not sure about the details and says they need to move out now because Che Guen is already waiting for them. Full of energy, he tells them to hurry up. We then get an exterior shot of the 6th District headquarters. A thick atmosphere of disbelief hangs in the air as the group sits around a table. The scene cuts to Che Guen, awkwardly pleading for their help, saying the honor of the entire 6th District is on the line. Sakura, absolutely furious, slams the table and asks if he's joking, declaring that this is not the kind of job you give to a mercenary group. His expression shifts as he explains they recently took heavy losses in the last abyss and that they were the only crew he could trust. Chang Ting agrees to help, since it's him asking, but lays out one more condition besides their payment. After he agrees, Chang Ting drops the bomb. He wants the members of the 12 constellations to be summoned. Che Guen replies that pulling that off will be tough, and asks if just hiring one would be enough, since their real target is a single person. Chang Ting smirks, saying that, just as he thought, the guy did his homework. He thinks to himself that he absolutely has to get that man to join his group. He then says, "Fine, it's time to go talk to this person." Someone is heard shouting that they need to hustle and get a move on. The Black Panther is conducting an interrogation today, so they absolutely can't be late. We see a squad of soldiers marching. Striding down the hall, the Black Panther growls, asking if those guys have cracked yet. His underling reports back that the subjects are professionally trained and haven't spilled a single piece of information. Angrily flicking his cigarette to the floor, the chief orders his subordinate to open the door, deciding he'll interrogate them personally. The leader then vanishes into a dark room. And inside, it's Vara's crew. A brown-haired guy starts yelling, demanding they let them out and face him, like a real man in a fight. With a cold laugh, the special agent captain lights up a cigarette. Absolutely livid, the brown-haired man slams his fist against the glass, shouting that he's talking to him. Exhaling a cloud of smoke, the captain just says, "Fine." He orders his subordinate to unlock the door and let the man out. The guard immediately follows his command and slides open the gate. In a flash, we see the brown-haired man lunge forward, screaming that he's going to kill him. The special agent whips around in a blur, drawing his weapon and aiming it square at the man's forehead. The guy freezes on the spot, his eyes wide. The captain taunts him, asking why he's suddenly gone quiet. Filled with rage, he fires back, questioning what kind of man uses a gun and all this gear. With one swift move, the agent slams the man to the ground, pinning his head under his boot. The agent sneers that he asked to come out, but never said anything about no weapons. As he's being crushed, the man calls him a scumbag. The agent agrees, saying he's a total scumbag, who also happens to have a very short fuse, and that he's giving him exactly 3 seconds to talk while pressing the gun to his head. He starts the countdown. 1, 2, 3. Time's up. The one who killed you is the captain of the 6th District's Special Forces. We see his finger tighten on the trigger. In that exact moment, a voice screams his name, telling him to stop. The silver-haired man arrives on the scene with our hero and his party. The agent just spits out his cigarette. Kicking the other man aside, he complains that they always interrupt him at the best part, and that they're going to ruin his fun. He flicks his still-lit cigarette at the silver-haired man with an enraged look, but the man just snatches it out of the air, saying that it's disgusting. Looking like she was drawn by a god, a red-haired girl casually greets our MC, commenting on what a coincidence it is to run into him here. The agent is also caught off guard, saying it's been a while, and that his little group has gotten bigger. He asks if the princess isn't bothered hanging out with these kinds of people. She fires back that her own father gave this his full approval. Scratching his head, the agent tells her to be careful, since she's the precious daughter of the Wu family, and if anything happens to her, he'll be the one to suffer. Turning away, he tells her to send his regards to her master. The blonde guy asks if they mean the old man, and she confirms that the Black Panther was one of his absolute worst students. Shocked, he looks totally embarrassed to be called out as the worst student. The silver-haired man calls out to the red-haired girls group. As we get a gorgeous shot of her, she walks toward our hero and calls his name sweetly, taking his hand and pressing it between her assets. She coos that she just knew he wouldn't abandon her. Our protagonist turns beet red, completely flustered and unsure what to do. Fuming, the pink-haired princess smacks the redhead's hand away, telling her she can talk all she wants, but she needs to keep her hands to herself. The redhead just smirks, saying it's no wonder he's so cold to her, now that he has a little girlfriend. The hero quickly denies it, explaining she's just an ally, while the pink-haired girl shouts that she's the vice captain. The redhead turns away, saying whatever, leaving the other girl seething. Striking a seductive pose that shows off her incredible body, she says she's leaving and calls for her teammates. They just stare, stunned by the redhead's totally shameless attitude. A moment later, we see our crew sitting down, with the redhead and the silver-haired man. The princess then asks if he's really okay with all this. The redhead confidently says her skills are solid and that she'll be a huge help to the team. While the pink-haired girl agrees, she whispers to the protagonist, asking if the redhead can really be trusted, and he says yes. Annoyed, the pink-haired woman accuses him of being blinded by the redhead's beauty. The silver-haired man announces that the people from Zone 1 are arriving tomorrow, so they should rest and get adjusted today because he's already set up a place for everyone. With a serious look, he says he'll be counting on everyone's help tomorrow. Our boy tells them not to worry, promising to do his absolute best. Holding his hand affectionately, the redhead asks what the mission is, since she doesn't know the details, all while the princess glares at her. Embarrassed, he explains that they're in charge of representing Zone 6 and competing against the ability users from Zone 1. Not getting it, the redhead asks if the two zones aren't both official organizations, and why they would need to compete, wondering if there aren't any ability users in Zone 6. He tries to cover for them. He flat out calls the Zone 6 users weak, and the princess shamelessly admits it's true. The hero explains that since both zones are official, they've agreed to a peaceful competition to decide who will spearhead the next Abyss raid. The redhead jumps in, asking what's in it for them if they win. Our protagonist lays out the terms. In the next Abyss run, if it stretches beyond 12 miles, a full half of the Abyss stones are theirs. And if there's an odd number, they even get a bonus stone. He thinks to himself that the next Abyss will yield a total of 6 stones, giving them way more freedom to operate. With a sparkle in her eyes, the stunning redhead declares that their captain is seriously amazing. The pink-haired woman chimes in, showering the protagonist with praise and leaving him all flustered. He just laughs awkwardly as the two women shoot daggers at each other. The hero announces that tomorrow marks their mercenary group's first battle, and they need to make it a showstopper. Everyone roars back in agreement. The scene cuts to an exterior shot of the 6th District's headquarters. Just then, a group in matching uniforms appears. Their leader, a guy casually smoking a cigarette, stands at the front. He scoffs that the Zone 6 headquarters doesn't look like much. The silver-haired man greets him, calling out, "Long Tao," but the man just brushes him off. He declares that he's definitely going to be the one leading the next Abyss raid. The rude dude then asks if these are the people from Zone 6, because they look like a bunch of clumsy washouts who should just give up now. Forcefully grabbing the other's hand, the silver-haired man reminds him they've known each other for 10 years, ever since the military academy. He adds that he's never lost to him. The man seethes, snapping back that he only lost back then, because he had the Black Panther on his side, while he was always fighting solo. He demands to know how a regular person like the silver-haired man has now so completely surpassed him. Smirking, the silver-haired man accepts the challenge. He says he's looking forward to seeing him win today. Our hero silently scoffs, thinking, are these really supposed to be the strongest fighters? The guy proposes a deal. Since both teams have 5 members, they should do a series of one-on-one fights. First to 3 victories wins. Adjusting his glasses, our guy agrees, saying it's a great deal. Impatiently, the other guy asks what they're waiting for, and the silver-haired man tells them to follow him. Moments later, they arrive at Zone 6's underground training facility. The silver-haired man reveals a sheet of paper, saying, "These are the enemy team's abilities." Our hero is impressed, saying that's exactly what he'd expect. With a laugh, the man replies that, to win every battle, you must know yourself and your enemy. The blonde rival interrupts, asking if they're still strategizing, and demanding to know who's fighting first. Our guy points to the director, telling him he's up. The director hesitates, but our hero informs him that his opponent creates illusions. He tells him to counter with nightmares, which should make it an easy win. The opponent taunts the director, asking if he's ready, while another man lays down the rules. Killing is off limits. The director flinches as the man suddenly unleashes his ability. The guy smirks, claiming the match was over the second the director locked eyes with his opponent. A woman on his team looks on, worried, remarking that something feels off as he continues to stare blankly. His leader yells at him, shouting his name and demanding to know what's wrong. Suddenly, the fighter drops to his knees, screaming in pure agony. He's crying, desperately yelling for them to stay away, not to kill him, begging them to get back. In that instant, reflected in his terrified eyes, is the image of a hellhound. The next panel reveals a massive demon. It stands there, commanding the hellhounds. As the opponent screams for help, the hounds leap forward, viciously tearing into him. In a blur of motion, the demon plunges its claw straight into the enemy's chest. All he can do is let out a desperate, pain-filled shriek. Wiping his face, the director nonchalantly says, "That was a really easy victory." The arrogant guy grits his teeth, saying that even after all these years, the silver-haired man is still a snake for digging up intel on his team. With fury in his eyes, he calls out to another subordinate, telling him he's next. Meanwhile, on the protagonist's side, everyone is cheering for the director. The silver-haired man is shocked, realizing the director's ability is also a mental type and far more powerful than his opponents. At that moment, another enemy fighter locks eyes with our hero. Our hero thinks to himself, "This is Zone 1's strongest user. He has to be a physical type." Pointing at the opponent, he declares that he'll be the one to take him on. The man boasts that no matter how much they researched, they'd never figure out the ability of his strongest member. In a flash, our hero lunges into combat. He's stunned after dropping the guy with a single punch, wondering out loud, "Wait, is he really this weak?" His blonde friend cheers him on, while the redhead thinks to herself that this could actually cause some problems. Scrambling on the floor, the challenger actually has the guts to scream for another round. Without a moment's hesitation, our guy launches into the air, unleashing a vicious flying kick. And you can just feel the crushing impact as it lands. He gets sent absolutely soaring from the force of that kick. But the guy immediately pops back up like it was nothing, leaving our hero completely stunned. Our protagonist wonders if he's seeing things. He's getting weaker. A kick, with that much force, should have put the enemy down for the count. He lunges forward, unleashing a furious barrage of punches. We watch as the enemy effortlessly parries every single attack our guy throws. Completely shocked, our hero is left gasping for air after that intense exchange. His blonde-haired friend tells him to quit messing around, while the redhead asks if they've noticed their opponent is actually getting stronger. The silver-haired man clarifies that the opponent isn't powering up. Our hero is the one getting weaker. The two combatants continue to trade heavy blows. Squaring up, the opponent declares that after all this time, it's finally his turn to act. Shattering the pavement with a powerful stomp, he blitzes toward our boy. Our protagonist barely dodges, getting clipped by a glancing blow as a vicious series of punches rains down. As our guy struggles to evade, the man taunts him, asking if dodging is all he's got. And where did all that initial strength go? Our protagonist can't react in time and takes a brutal fist straight to the gut. It finally clicks for our hero. His strength is still draining away, and the opponent's ability is some kind of power siphon. Every single touch transfers his strength. In his thoughts, the silver-haired man knows this is bad. This ability is a hard counter for our protagonist, so he urges him to just surrender the fight. The first division leader excitedly tells our guy to listen to that solid advice. "Just give up," he says, "because there's zero chance of victory." He finally reveals that, as they must have guessed, his ability is power theft. With every exchange, he steals 10% of his opponent's power. Cocky as ever, he claims there is absolutely no way the hero can win now. His worried friend begs him to forfeit and prioritize his safety, as our boy admits to himself that this guy really is his nemesis. He pulls a weapon from his inventory, declaring that even so, this victory will be his. The enemy, surprised, says using a weapon is a smart strategy, but not in his current, weakened state. Our protagonist challenges him with a glare, thinking to himself that the god-slaying sword can amp his physical stats to a whole other level. The opponent keeps goading our guy. The enemy calls for him to bring it on. In a flash, our hero unleashes a blinding flurry of slashes, catching the enemy completely by surprise. In the middle of the sword strikes, he lands a perfectly aimed punch. We then see the opponent get launched backward, completely caught off guard. Smirking, our boy taunts that apparently his captain never taught him not to underestimate the enemy. Wiping his face, the opponent admits he didn't anticipate that much power and speed, but insists it still won't be enough. The worried redhead asks when our guy will ever learn, and questions her teammates on why they don't seem concerned either. Her blonde companion responds while pointing, saying the reason is simple: the winner has already been decided. The Zone 1 leader asks if it's because the weapon is poisoned, and that's why they think victory is a sure thing. He screams at his subordinate to finish this fight once and for all. Pressing forward, The enemy says that despite any poison, the result won't change, because his own power will just purge the toxins. With a vicious glare, he charges the hero and mocks him, saying that now, our guy is no different from a little kid. Winding up for a finishing blow, he declares that it's all over. At that exact moment, our protagonist braces himself and says, "The time is right," unleashing a rapid-fire series of strikes. Our hero's hits land precisely on the opponent's arm. The enemy, stunned and confused by what just happened, can't process the situation. We then see our guy flash to the other side in a blur of motion. After everything that has gone down, this guy has the audacity to challenge our hero to a one-on-one fight. Watching the scene unfold, that perceptive duo carefully analyzes the situation. However, according to their captain, something feels completely out of place. The leader quickly states he's sensing something different in the atmosphere, something incredibly strange. Locking his gaze firmly on the villain's face, he uses his special vision to analyze him in detail. At that moment, droplets of his red juice begin to splatter across the ground. The captain immediately screams at Wong, giving a direct order to end this game this very instant. The fighter seems to snap back into the fight and attempts to attack our protagonist, who stands perfectly still like a statue. Chang takes a deep breath and waits for the goon to throw the first punch. However, without needing to do a thing, he simply states that it's over for the guy. Suddenly, the fighter collapses to the ground as he begins to feel something terrible, taking over his entire body. Not understanding what's going on, he wonders what in the world is happening to his body. His whole team is completely stunned, since Wong is a super strong warrior who possesses immense battle energy. Grumbling with increasing frustration, the captain warns that the idiot is losing way too much strawberry juice, and he was so not ready for the sheer presence radiating from his opponent in this fight. Chang boasts that their entire squad isn't enough to handle his true power. In a flash, Wong's teammates desperately try to get their combat abilities back online. Taking a deep breath, one warrior tries to slowly recenter his energy and sharpen his fighting skills before diving back into the chaos. The goon mumbles an apology to his captain, who looks absolutely disgusted by what he's seeing. Clamping down on his cigarette, the man freezes for a second, sinking deep into thought about everything that's unfolding. But before they can make a move, a raw, powerful scream shatters the silence. Someone is amped up and ready for battle. Tossing her uniform into the air, she bolts to the center of the ring and gets ready to face her rival. You can see it in her eyes, this warrior is primed for the attack, and with that wicked smirk, she'll do absolutely anything to win. Staring in disbelief, young Takedo sputters that she's absurdly overpowered for this match. Muttering something, the woman tells them all to just chill out. Grabbing his pamphlet, our warrior intensely analyzes the intel. Xiaojin's special ability is astral projection. It looks like, for once, our hero is genuinely worried about how this fight will turn out. He doesn't know if he can even pull off a victory. But Takedo tries to hype his friend up, claiming his girls could easily crush that despicable fighter. It seems even Chang has a healthy fear of that power and tells his colleagues to have zero expectations whatsoever. Launching herself toward the young man, the warrior Xiaoying gets ready to unleash her ultimate skill. With a sharp inhale, Chang calculates what to do next, trying to avoid any reckless mistakes. In that instant, Takedo jumps in front of his friend and asks if she can project herself with immense force. Still shaken, our hero complains that if she really wants to, she can project pretty much anything. Flashing back to what he read in her history, the boy remembers that at one point her power was able to conjure a terrifying nuclear bomb. But Xiao Jin is tired of waiting around and challenges our warriors to a real fight. She has no patience for their games, and she's getting more furious by the second. At that exact moment, someone bursts into the room, running, and whatever it is, it looks dead serious. Whispering low into someone's ear, we can tell something is going down. Some kind of gossip or a critical side conversation. Dashing toward Che Guevara, the captain demands to know what's happening right now. At this point, the competition must end immediately. An apparent order from the higher-ups. The news has arrived that everything must halt because something awful has occurred. Not believing what he's hearing, the captain is enraged by the report he's being given. Bracing for whatever might happen, our squad tries to make sense of the situation unfolding. Who could this VIP be that's causing all this chaos? It must be someone terrifying and incredibly important, who's pulling all the strings. However, she isn't buying the excuse, and she starts confronting everyone. Her anger skyrockets, and she becomes ravenous for answers. Walking up to Chang, she advises the kid to keep his cool and not to make a move. But if he really wants to do something, he can go right ahead. Without further delay, the fights are concluded, and the teams are split up again in the center of the arena. Thinking very carefully about his next move, Chang continues to analyze the damn situation. Far from there, we see night has fallen over the 6th district. Standing up, in front of everyone present, Takedo declares that it's time for Chongting to take action. Flashing his slight, confident smirk, Chang confirms that it is indeed time to move fast. That conversation gets cut short when someone knocks on the door. When the young man opens it, his eyes fly wide open as he realizes this could be the moment. Looking dead serious, the woman confirms without hesitation that it's her. Barging in without permission, she states that, for the next challenge, she'll be with their team, the one that seems to have a good vibe. Takedo points at her, asking if she wasn't from the first district. However, the girl, picking up on the conversation, declares that her group has no interest in conquering the next abyss. Agreeing with the girl, Chang confirms that they have no interest in this stupid competition. To her, it's much better to end this chat, and she says she doesn't belong to the first district. Stunned by what they're hearing, they are left totally speechless. Continuing her explanation, the woman states she is only there temporarily, on a mission. It's then that we realize both Xiaojin and the other woman are part of a mercenary group. Regardless of everything, their only desire in all this is to obtain the seeds and a lot of parallel power. If they are willing to collaborate with this woman, they could be incredibly useful in the next battle in the search for peace. Extending her hand in front of young Chang, the woman tries to seal a new alliance between them before he makes a decision. It hits our hero then if she's actually telling the truth. The entire game just changed. All the intel they need on the matter is literally right there in their hands. They just have to look at it. If Chang is seriously ready to play ball, all he has to do is check the data on that device. But they need him to make the right call. And fast. After stepping out of the chambers, the two of them start debating whether this was actually a smart move. For Xiaojin, however, she's absolutely certain her friends made the only right choice. As the clock ticked towards midnight, the entire squad was closing in on the ruins where it would all go down, making it clear this was no minor skirmish. The commander makes it known. He wants no cowards on this field. The whole team is locked in position, ready for the storm that's about to hit. But you can see one of them is way more hyped for this than the rest of his crew. Grumbling to each other, the duo gripes that any hope for cooperation is completely delusional. But after sizing up his skills, yeah, he's more than ready for the fight ahead. Still, they can't forget to factor in the military outposts scattered all over the battlefield. That's precisely why he ended up sneaking into the exact spot where the soldiers were digging in for this very battle. Meanwhile, inside the compound, the crowd is buzzing, practically vibrating, as they wait for the monsters to crawl out of the portal. This mob of fanatics is absolutely desperate for the chaos that's about to be unleashed. Just then, the group's leader declares that the youngsters have the perfect skill set to annihilate the monster emerging at that very second. But then he gets dead serious, ordering them not to kill the beast because he wants its power for himself. The second he spots one of the kids trying to back out of the plan, he cracks him across the face with a vicious slap. After getting rocked, the goon swears blind obedience to his master. Now, all they need is the perfect moment for the portal to rip open, and for the horrifying creatures of the abyss to spill out. When midnight finally struck, the portal erupted, unleashing a terrifying wave of energy. It manifested as pure fire, and with no idea how things would unfold, everyone watched with wide, gleaming eyes. Out of those menacing shadows, strange and utterly bizarre beings rose up before them, hungry for human flesh. Staring in sheer horror, they realized 6 terrifying abyssal seeds had just emerged from the void. They have to hold their original formation before the creatures start unleashing their hellish attacks. Weaving countless spells across the ground, the team braces for the next wave of combat. Before they could even blink, the creatures were already coiling into attack stances to face these pathetic humans. And in that instant, the goon points a finger and screams, "Let the attack begin." A swarm of young fighters begins to unleash a surreal barrage of attacks against those monstrous beasts. Countless radioactive explosions ignite in that same moment, and the noise becomes absolutely deafening. The grotesque monsters from the abyss shift into an all-out assault against the warriors. Clapping his hands together, the cult leader celebrates the courage of his followers. Now, it's time to unleash the second wave against that giant monster. Sprinting towards the fray, the duo gets ready for a massive bombardment against the creatures. A terrifying magic is summoned as they prepare for a horrifying assault on the beings. Without a shred of fear, an insane amount of firepower is unloaded on the terrifying monsters. A gigantic roar of sound starts to shake the very foundations of the place, followed by a chain of unbelievable explosions. Overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the battle, the combatants start screaming for their lives. With brutal intensity, the bombs just keep getting stronger, bigger. Even more ordnance rains down from that one guy, who is still firing like his life depends on it. Mega explosions detonate one after another as everything spirals into chaos and destruction. From the outside, you can already see the blasts reaching astronomical sizes as the situation devolves into pure mayhem. Our heroic duo realizes that the battles and the hunt for these seeds are getting more and more nightmarish. But our protagonist makes it crystal clear. Nobody ever said this was going to be an easy challenge. Far from it. At that moment, back inside the ruins, you can see pure, unfiltered panic etched on everyone's face. A truly horrifying creature emerges from the shadows, its power level feeling leagues above the rest. It's go time, because it looks like their forces can't even touch this thing. Growing more desperate by the second, these thugs seem unable to process what's actually happening right in front of them. Unleashing a blood-curdling roar, the monster bellowed in their faces. A piercing screech rips through their skulls, an overwhelming agony so intense the entire squad collapses, slamming onto the dirt. Just before their heads can literally explode, they're screaming for mercy. It's time to unleash their secret weapon. In that critical moment, the girl with energy restoration powers flares to life, desperately trying to save her friends. But at the exact same time, a terrifying beast, all razor-sharp teeth, lunges at the gang. A cataclysmic explosion rips through the battlefield in an instant. With eyes completely wild with fear, the group's leader feels something is deeply wrong as he collapses to the ground. He begs for mercy, even offering to give up the powers he'd gained from the battle. Meanwhile, the fight rages on. Unbelievably fast laser beams slice through the air as they scramble for their lives. We see that as she runs, a terrifying vision seems to be watching her every move. A monstrous sea creature erupts from the ground in their midst, letting out a blood-curdling roar. This abyssal being is ready to wipe out all life on Earth. All the while, the leader's eyes are glowing a deeper and deeper red. Ready to detonate, desperate, and seeing his end is near, he starts pleading for his life. It seems not everyone is fighting back. Some are trying to weasel their way out of this horrifying situation by negotiating with the creatures. The fool actually tries to convince them to devour his own friends instead. Everyone is frozen in absolute terror at what they're seeing. And it is a truly ghastly sight. More creatures crawl from the abyss. And now, there's nothing they can do. Nothing can stop these damn things. Outside, our duo tries to figure out what the hell is actually happening in there. Because everything has gone disturbingly quiet. Overwhelmed by the situation, Chang finally admits that he's genuinely terrified. Staring intently into the war zone, the captain scrambles to come up with a strategy before this problem spirals even further out of control. He barks orders for the soldiers to follow his lead. One by one, they all resolve to enter the place where the horrifying beings are wreaking havoc. But his plan almost shatters the second he realizes what's actually going on inside. Before he can even shout his second command, he's completely stunned by the horrific scene he walks into. Mangled bodies litter the ground, and the putrid stench of rotting flesh hangs heavy in the air. We realize the madman has finally snapped for real this time. Totally confused, the force's captain demands to know where the abyssal monsters are. Chang doesn't wait for orders and yells for his friend to throw up an ice wall. In a matter of seconds, the young woman erects a massive ice barrier, just as the creature closes in to attack them. Before anything else can happen, our hero screams at everyone to run for it. It's not exactly a difficult request to follow. Immediately, the desperate team starts sprinting for their lives. Our main group braces for combat, but these monsters are more terrifying than anything they have ever faced before. Chang is getting seriously pissed off with all this crap, and he's determined to do something about it. Our scorpion sorceress seems to share that same hatred boiling in her veins. Realizing things are getting serious, Xiaoyin's friend asks for help, completely unsure of what to do next. Takedo asks Chang if they're going to keep fighting, or if they're going to bail too. Trying to calm his friend down, Chang weighs their options, until he finally decides to unsheath his powerful weapon and go on the offensive. Our powerhouse squad falls into formation, ready to attack these damned creatures. From a distance, we can see a few figures intently watching everything unfold. These scumbags are monitoring every single detail, looking like they're ready to make a villainous move. We quickly learn they're also after the abyssal seeds. It seems to be a stealthy assassin who needs them to get his revenge. However, it looks like others have their sights set on the abyssal seeds as well. Stretching out, he gets ready to snatch the first seed, a wicked grin spreading across his face. He has high hopes for the new powers he's about to obtain. Back in the fight, the girl is unleashing her full strength. To annihilate these cursed monsters, she conjures her attack power, launching devastating blows against the abyssal beings. Scorpiana doesn't hold back either, unleashing all of her green magic to hammer the hideous beasts with vicious attacks. Meanwhile, Takedo unloads his magic pistol on those bastards. First up is the bug-eyed fish face. It takes a massive blast directly to its body. Yelling to his friend, Chang urges her to finish that bastard off once and for all. Gathering all her strength with the fire element, the girl manages to forge a blazing spear of pure flame. Aiming it straight at the creature, she fires the shot without a second thought, with a swift and brutal jab to the creature's eye, which begins to tremble. Meanwhile, Chang braces himself to unleash a devastating blow and put an end to this vile, hellish beast, pulverizing the monster's face with his fist. The boy unleashes every ounce of his fury in that single moment. However, the other monsters are witnessing the entire beatdown and begin to retaliate. An insane amount of power is unleashed, and the monsters are engulfed in a storm of magic and attacks from every conceivable element. As the world turns a sickly green before their eyes, the terrifying monsters attempt to rise, planning a full-scale assault against the teens. A thick, choking smoke fills the area, and it seems some monsters are still primed for an attack. At that moment, Chang starts to process that these things must be incredibly powerful to have not been completely obliterated yet. Xiaojing announces it's time for everyone to brace themselves because something is about to go down. Taking a deep breath, the powerful master of the elements begins to summon her immense strength for something even bigger. It seems she's officially done playing around, and will do whatever it takes to launch the single, largest, and most powerful weapon she has ever used. Knowing the sheer magnitude of Shojin's power, Taketo's eyes shoot open in awe as he prepares for the worst, arming himself with all of his chaotic energy. The warrior is more than ready to launch her attack spell, but in that instant, the one that appears to be one of the most powerful of the abyssal monsters begins to rise before them all. A powerful cosmic energy erupts from our imposing warrior's body, and she immediately unleashes pure chaos. Her attack power is far greater than anyone anticipated, strong enough to shake the very foundations of the fortress. From outside, the newly arrived crew is left completely stunned by what they are witnessing. The small doll-like figure gets spooked and immediately asks her leader if they should make a move. Going against all expectations, their leader states that it's still time to wait just a little longer. Back inside, our Shojin is still recovering from her last attack, which completely drained her. Now, everyone can see that this woman should never be provoked again, as she holds the potential to literally scorch the earth. Breathing heavily, young Taketo cautiously approaches the scene to confirm if the abyssal creatures are still there. To our hero's shock, a few are still trying to get up amidst the chaos. Chang screams for a new round of attacks to begin against these damn, disgusting beings. One explosion after another erupts as we watch the creatures get hammered again and again. The fight drags on, and our team continues to launch spell after spell against these things. Chang grips his special blade and prepares for a fresh assault. His friend is thrilled with the result, which this time seems to have been a success. Staring intently at the creatures, he doesn't celebrate, sensing a strange energy coming from them. Realizing the group was starting to let its guard down, our leader declares that the battle must continue. Sakura and Taketo remain on high alert, because they thought their ordeal was finally over, but right now a terrifying metamorphosis seems to be taking place, in which the beings fuse together, forming an even larger monster, a hideous and indescribable abomination. Something with multiple heads and rows of teeth begins to emerge before them. Without understanding what just happened, their fight rages on, because in that instant, Chang is already being slammed with incredible force. Those damn tentacles keep smashing into our hero's body, sending him flying. At that moment, his loyal ally, Taketo, is filled with rage and terror for his friend's life. Growing more horrifying and dangerous by the second, the creature begins to move in an unholy way. Its maw craves human flesh, and it will do anything to attack our warriors, larger than anything they have ever seen. Before, that creature from the depths was born to spread corruption across planet Earth. Its shriek was absolutely deafening, and not even the scorpion sorceress could withstand it. With a slimy tentacle, the creature lunged at Sakura, with immense force and speed. Without a second thought, our girl slammed her hand on the ground, causing a massive wall of ice to erupt from it, but the monster didn't stop its attack. On the contrary, it kept pushing forward to snatch them. Shielded by a layer of ice, our trio tries to survive the terrifying and brutal onslaught, but the creature is cunning, and will stop at nothing to get what it truly desires. Without hesitation, Sakura once again casts her protective shield to save everyone. A truly colossal struggle begins as the creature now unleashes more tentacles to shatter their protection. With a sickening grin on its face, this being is not messing around. The ice crystals explode into pieces, and we see that the creature is far more intelligent than it appears. However, our Sakura can't hold it back for long, and her power begins to fade. In that instant, the scorpion sorceress, gripped by terror, she unleashes a storm of raw magic against the creature from the abyss. The sorceress shouts a desperate warning to her comrades. This beast's power is off the charts. But Taketo roars for his friend to hold the ice wall steady, screaming that if it falls, they're all dead. Completely drained, Xiaojing staggers to her feet, whispering that she has just enough left for one final strike. Channeling her immense power, the sorceress focuses all her energy, preparing to deliver a decisive blow to the creatures. As if sensing the cataclysmic attack about to be unleashed, the monsters preemptively launch their own wave of assaults. Spotting a maelstrom hurtling toward them, Sakura shrieks a warning to the rest of the team. The force of this new assault is overwhelming, flinging our heroes into the air. Before they can even recover, a massive, violent tornado materializes right in front of them. They can only watch in abject horror as the monster's form twists and mutates yet again. Everyone recoils in terror as its grotesque, slimy tentacles slither closer. In that instant, we see Sakura's limp form on the ground, tossed aside like a broken doll. Absolute chaos rips through her companions. 4 separate heads now complicate the battlefield, and pure panic begins to set in, a sight that seems to delight the horrifying creature. It's in this moment we see, for the first time, that the sorceress's energy is completely depleted. She openly admits her defeat to her friends. Even without strength, they scramble for cover, sensing a devastating, final blow is on its way. Gathering energy for a finishing move, the creature lets out a deafening roar, its fist clenched tight. Desperate tears stream down Taketo's face. As the horrifying realization hits him, he has been singled out to receive the death blow, the very strike that will annihilate all of humanity. And yet, it seems the monster wouldn't claim victory just yet. Though grievously wounded, Chang forces himself to remain calm as he rises from the billowing smoke. But the team is scattered, and after witnessing such overwhelming power, they begin to think that perhaps it's finally time to retreat. Chang Ting, however, now appears startlingly more self-assured and resolute, ready to alter the course of human history. At that exact moment, a thunderous roar bellows from deep inside the creature, attempting to paralyze them all with fear. Elsewhere, we spot those lowlifes, scheming to somehow profit from this catastrophic battle. Nearby, the little doll wants to know what, exactly, has captured Ji's undivided attention. Raising his hand, Ji announces that the moment has arrived to make their move and seize the abyssal seed. Primed for the fight, Chongting unleashes his own devastating magic against the shadowy beast. Beams of impossibly brilliant light flare across the battlefield as the young man strikes. Recalling the flow of the last battle, he notes that the monster is beginning to lose its power. Dashing through fissures in the barrier, he presses ever closer to the creature. This time, his blows feel significantly more potent, more impactful. In that instant, an earth-shattering roar ripped through the air as the monster bellowed in agony. Realizing he was pouring every ounce of his energy into the attack, Chang could feel his own power beginning to wane. It was at that very moment that something deeply unsettling occurred. Gazing onward with a sense of dread, the young man realizes something is truly wrong. Simultaneously, the creature's tentacles begin to dissolve. Then, in a glorious moment that could save them all, our very own Taketo manages to fire his devastating weapon point blank at the creature. Drawing on her last reserves of energy, Sakura casts one final ice incantation. A colossal explosion detonates right in front of them, the impact so powerful it throws Chang backward through the air. Fire and ice intertwine, converging in an attempt to forge a combination attack, more flawless than any before it. We can clearly see the creature is now being overwhelmed by this potent magic. A sickening bog begins to form beneath it, and it seems, at last, that these dreadful creatures of darkness are being annihilated. At the same time, a skull-splitting headache rips through Ting's body, who struggles desperately to stay on his feet. He advances on the remaining dark beings, poised to bring it all to an end. Declaring victory, Chang concludes his work with a single, extraordinary final blow. At that exact moment, radiant, intensely powerful abyssal seeds materialize from the defeated foe. Overwhelmed with joy at what they're seeing, our heroes use this brief moment of peace to celebrate. Ting looks more triumphant and thrilled than ever before. But just as they're about to enjoy the fruits of their labor, a new presence arrives to shatter their plans. That pack of vultures closes in, clearly intending to snatch the valuable treasures. Sakura recognizes these individuals all too well, yet a faint smile touches her lips as she says, "It's been some time since she last crossed paths with the girl." Completely lost by this interaction, Chang asks if she genuinely knows this person. Once she confirms that this is an acquaintance of her grandfather's, the realization dawns on Chang that they might be planning to steal the reward. Before anyone can even speak, Taketo roars, ready for another battle. But these individuals persist in their attempt to deceive the team. Trying to de-escalate, Ji speaks to them in a soft, negotiating tone. He tells the group they can keep the jewels, but his whole vibe is off, and they all exchange looks a massive red flag. It looks like our hero has a play in mind. Motioning to the gems, Chang says they can take them, his hands moving in slow motion. Ting attempts to flash some kind of signal to his crew, and instantly, both Taketo and Sakura pick up on it. The vibe just shifted. They are immediately on edge. A quick glance confirms it. The rival pair is just as locked in, sensing trouble. Sensing something is about to go down, Kai makes a dead sprint for the abyssal seeds before all hell breaks loose. In that split second, however, Ji realizes this whole thing smells like a trap. Screaming out to his friend, the leader, He yells at Kai to stop dead in his tracks, but it was already too late. A terrifying explosion rips through the air. A blinding, incandescent light floods the area as dust and smoke billow everywhere. To everyone's shock, it was that eccentric dude. With those small spheres in his hands, he unleashes wave after wave of power against the group, continuing his assault. The rival crew members conjure some kind of barrier, deflecting the immediate attacks. A portal tears open, and the seeds are right there. It's a mad scramble as everyone bolts toward the portal, desperate for salvation. Always the stealthy one, he seizes the opportunity to hit the rival crew with a little farewell wave. In that same instant, the portal snaps shut, and a strange noise fills the void. Both the little doll and G are completely horrified by what just unfolded right in front of them. A side conversation kicks off between the two of them as they scheme for a way to get payback on that group. Lighting his pipe, the individual tries to give the group a glimmer of hope while they mastermind a new attack. Taking a long drag and staring off into the distance, he promises them true revenge. Far from there, we see a desolate, empty place. It looks like some kind of warehouse. In a flash, a brilliant violet light engulfs the room. To everyone's surprise, that's the portal our heroes are about to tumble out of. A full-blown victory celebration erupts as everyone hypes each other up. A legit party is about to go down, because our team has definitely earned it. First things first, though Sakura and Taketos immediately call out Chang for keeping them in the dark about everything. It's then revealed that this was all part of a larger plan. Still, both of them are seriously irritated by the whole situation. We then see Xiaojin is gripped by a deep fear of how things are going to pan out. Determined to take action, Ting vows revenge. Meanwhile, the leader affirms that his own promise still holds. As long as the door remains open, all eyes shift to the Scorpion Sorceress. Now, it's time to distribute the seeds for the war. We see there are 6 different abyssal seeds, each one packing a unique ability. Before the guy can even speak, Chang declares that his team gets top priority in this distribution. Reaching his hand across the table, Chang snatches the jewels. As they all gaze at the red seed, they're left completely speechless. But maybe they need to have a very serious conversation right now, because these powers are on a completely different level. Slamming his fist on the table, the chief demands to know if this is for real. Everyone is still stunned by the magic radiating from these gems, especially the girl. Taketos, meanwhile, is celebrating, because he's one step closer to getting even more powerful. But it's clear this whole discussion is making the leaders a bit uncomfortable. Sometime later, inside the room, Chang flashes back to an interesting chat he had with the boss. He also recalls that after their discussion, they finally managed to strike a deal. Surveying the team, Ting decides to hand out the 6 abyssal jewels to each of the right people. After receiving the violet jewel, Xiaojin gives his thanks. Everyone present starts speculating about who deserves the seeds the most. A short while later, Chang stares intently at the red jewel as it begins to glow brighter and brighter. Smirking, he reveals that he's about to get even more powerful. It's in this moment that we realize the heroes, by obtaining the seeds, are starting to become increasingly more talented. Watching his friends transform, Chang feels more and more hyped about the outcome. Opening his mouth, he immediately tosses the seed inside, ready to receive its power. In that instant, he feels his entire wolf power surging, growing stronger and stronger. However, during the transformation, something feels off. With his eyes wide with shock, the young man feels something truly bizarre happening. Meanwhile, Sakura looks like she's trying to recover. A powerful cosmic energy envelops our heroes. Taketo points at his friend, realizing with horror that he's actually losing more and more of his powers. A faint sigh seems to calm his friend for a second, but he grows increasingly desperate as he watches what's unfolding. Not even Chang can believe the power he's starting to feel because of that seed. New abilities are being activated, and now, Ting has truly leveled up, fully evolved. Our boy is dead set on making sure these new powers are used for good, but even with the insane power of the abyssal jewels, he admits they're still going to need a hell of a lot of luck. As for Takedo, he is completely over this whole saving the world gig. He just wants to catch a break. They all share a look, a silent agreement that it's time to power down for a bit. But just then, Chang declares that the time for something massive has finally arrived. Staring intensely into the sunlight, they wait for what's coming. This is it, the moment they've all been bracing for. Out of thin air, a cosmic energy begins to surge, and it looks like that absolute nightmare of a monster has returned. As it speaks, a massive, twisted grin spreads across its face. It dawns on every human. They're being played with like children's toys. But this is no time for chit-chat. It's time to shut up and listen very carefully to what it has to say. Sipping her tea, the little doll gives G a heads up. The protection period is officially over. Meanwhile, G is kicking back in the pool, celebrating and hoping this whole mess will be over soon. The creature establishes a new set of rules, completely overhauling the game. But before it can properly explain anything, it begins to fade into absolute nothingness. A smirk plays on Takedo's lips as he deciphers the new rules of the game. A new jewel, or an abyssal key, is about to materialize. This isn't the time for theories. Chang cuts in, saying it's time for an energy hunt. They don't need to worry, though, because Ting is already cooking up a new way to get powered up. It looks like the crystals will be the key to slowly helping the Earth's energy recover. At the same time, Sakura is analyzing the matter with intense focus. She starts grilling the girl, trying to get inside her head. Meanwhile, the Scorpion sorceress demands to know what these so-called abyssal keys even are. Apparently, this key is the essential item needed to break into the terrifying dungeons. Using this key will let them unlock a whole new level of ultimate power. These keys are sorted into 3 tiers: ordinary, mysterious, and extraordinary. Takedo cuts the explanation short. He only wants to know how to reach the extraordinary level. First things first, they need a plan to even find them, but Sakura is clearly losing her patience with all the talk. She just wants to know how to track them down, fast. It seems he has that intel, remembering exactly how it went down in the book's storyline. Despite his curiosity, his top priority is locking down those keys. Just then, a little girl comes sprinting towards him. He tells her to relax, explaining that they're going to be here for a good while. We also catch a glimpse of other characters intensely debating what just happened. More than that, they're preparing to do whatever it takes to get their hands on those so-called abyssal keys, and his paranoia is just spiraling deeper and deeper. Meanwhile, the little girl continues to calmly sip her tea. Suddenly, a massive explosion rips through a distant location. Chaos erupts as people scatter, running in every direction. It looks like some monstrous wolf is about to attack a young maiden. Crying out for help, she begs for anyone to save her. Before the creature can land its final attack, a brilliant flash of light explodes onto the scene. It looks like someone is blasting the creature with energy beams. At that moment, we see the silhouette of someone holding a weapon. We can't see who it is yet, but it looks like some kind of savior has arrived. But don't you worry, it's just our old war buddy, Takedo. As the girl bolts, he complains that the rude kid didn't even stick around to say thank you. Chang tells his friend to quit clowning around and get focused on finding the abyssal key. Our friend just won't stop complaining, prompting Ting to tell him to quit being such a downer. Just then, his phone buzzes. He immediately answers it to find out who's on the line. It seems like some good news might finally be heading their way. While the duo is out hunting, it appears Sakura is closing in on a key. It's time to join forces and finally put an end to this abyssal adventure. Cut to the gymnasium. Our team begins to approach the school grounds. Standing in the middle of the court, you can tell they are not happy to be there. Clutching that powerful key, Sakura asks what to do next. She slowly places the key on the floor, and we watch to see what will happen. A cosmic explosion instantly erupts, and from it, a fearsome, skull-faced portal emerges. Chang raises his hand, looking for a way to enter the place. In that instant, the extraordinary journey is activated. Bit by bit, the rift slowly tears itself open. Immediately, terrifying spirits begin to pour out from it. Of course, in this moment our dear Takedo is already showing his profound terror. Now is the time for them to believe in themselves. As they step into the dungeon, they notice it resembles some kind of arena. In fact, it looks more like the Colosseum, and he knows it. A hurricane of energy swirls around the place. Something is about to go down. From the shadows, a demonic figure begins to appear. Without delay, we realize the monster is a minotaur. It is time for our heroes to fight for their very lives. Chang confirms their fears. It's definitely the minotaur. The beast grows more and more agitated, unleashing its terrifying power. It wants to tear our heroes apart. Explosions are going off everywhere. This creature's power is on another level, and Chang steps up to lead the team. And he's itching to test out his cosmic beams in a real fight. Without a second thought, the kid dives headfirst into the fray. He squares up with the minotaur, only to be hit by another blast that catches the kid completely by surprise. The sheer force of this beast is off the charts, but our hero isn't about to back down from this fight that easily. He glanced over and the creature was already down, but in a flash, the minotaur shot back up and lunged back into the fight. As it attacked, he leaped to dodge the blow. Channeling his terrifying magic, he's ready for whatever comes next. The beast struggles to get up. A dark, primal energy begins to flood the minotaur. Chang suspected it had more power in the tank, but he was not ready for this. With eyes blazing like hellfire, the beast unleashes its true power. It's a clash between two unstoppable forces trying to dominate. Right now, the problem is way bigger than it was before. Tink needs to go all out if he wants to claim that top spot for himself. It feels like the perfect time to unlock a brand new skill. Takedo is hyping up his friend's insane efficiency. We see the entire Colosseum has erupted into a full-blown war zone. The beast collapses to the ground and he celebrates even harder, but Sakura instantly tells him to chill out and shut his mouth. Mortified by his mistake, The kid tries to play it cool. That guy starts complaining about him, saying he doesn't even know how to use his own abilities. But like a true leader, Tink steps in to calm him down and build his confidence back up. It looks like we're witnessing the trials of the abyssal jewels. Once they reach the very end, peace will finally be restored to the world. Now that he's pumped up, he can charge forward with confidence. Raising his special sword, Chang rallies his team for the next move. The Minotaur lets out a groan of agony. An actual giant screen materializes out of thin air, leaving them completely stunned. The screen congratulates them for defeating the Minotaur. Tink is just getting more and more confused by this whole situation. It seems they're the very first squad to ever achieve this victory. Takedo makes it clear that's exactly why they don't have a rank yet. But then, he launches into a full-on history lesson for his friend. He just shuts him down because none of this is making sense anymore. It's about time they earned a real ranking in this game. Our friend has no idea how, but he's going to do whatever it takes to rank among the best. When the blonde kid looked again, a chest had appeared right in front of him. Inside were powerful weapons, ready for the taking. They exchange a look, all wondering if this was some kind of magic. Meanwhile, the epic chest begins to creak open, and incredible powers burst forth from within it. When the blinding light finally fades, we see it's an unbelievably powerful weapon. In that instant, Takedo's eyes shine with pure excitement. Looking at what's in front of him, we realize it's a massive skill upgrade for his weapon that's about to make him way more ferocious. Recharging his energy, the young man jokes that this isn't half bad. He now demands they call him the guardian of the two pistols. At that moment, the two girls are burning with envy for not getting any new attributes. Our leader tries to give some instructions to the two complainers. It seems it's now time for a new challenge, one that involves the abyssal keys. Something is detected by the game system, a terrifying countdown. It starts to rocket upwards from 10 to 50 in a matter of seconds. Both Chang and Takedo are floored by this development, but Tink does everything in his power to absorb the information with laser focus. A new type of arena activation has just been triggered by the system. He immediately shot up 2 levels, hitting level 8. A huge explosion goes off, and thick smoke floods the entire area. Realizing an attack is about to come from inside it, he shouts a warning to the other members. Another terrifying explosion erupts, and you can just make out the massive paw of some animal. It looks like this time the challenge involves a fearsome mythological creature. A mighty roar thunders through the arena, and we see a vicious dog with 3 heads. It could only be the guardian of the gates of hell. With incandescent eyes and flames swirling around it, that beast looks pure evil. Ice and fire are about to clash in a new battle for their lives. Sakura tries to make a move, but this new attack is on a completely different level. Another gigantic explosion rips through the area, and this time Chang's body is sent flying through the air. Our beast seems to be drooling with rage, the rage it feels toward our champions. Bracing for combat, the squadron gets into formation for another fight. Meanwhile, this massive dog closes in on all of them. Far away, in a place beyond human comprehension, we can see intergalactic beings. As they analyze life on Earth, they all find it extremely interesting. Muttering some absurd words, the yellow creature finds the whole thing hilarious and gets ready to start the game. However, even these cosmic beings are capable of getting into conflicts. Unable to see eye to eye, a kind of ego battle kicks off among the beings. Meanwhile, the red being declares that he's starting to get bored. All this trash talk is getting old. One being bellows, demanding they get on with it. Give us a real show. But the main entity spearheading the assault on Earth has the absolute nerve to command the others. Don't you dare interfere. The red entity declares their hands are tied, claiming, there's nothing for it. It feels like they're one wrong word away from kicking off a catastrophic cosmic war. You know what? It's time to step in. Time to make this little game a lot more interesting. But clearly not everyone is on the same page, with some trying to hash out a deal, completely missing the point. Scanning the current state of play, it's obvious what needs to happen. It's time to drop a new bug into the system, to spice things up. As cosmic energy crackles at his fingertips, the Supreme Being gets a wicked idea, injecting a fresh glitch directly into Earth's system. Now that would shake things up. We could even set up some win conditions, a way to rack up points, he muses. But you can tell the other entities are getting seriously ticked off, because at the end of the day, this isn't about some point system. They just want chaos. Without a second thought, the massive red being unleashes an overwhelming wave of power. A dead silence falls over the cosmos. Everyone is just confused. These so-called glitches feel like a cheap shot, and it's making them furious. And back on the battlefield, the monstrous hound coils, ready to strike. Suddenly, a colossal wave of power slams into the arena. With the roar of a violent vortex, a beam of violet light screams down towards the planet. Down below, the heroes can only stare, completely baffled by what the hell is going on. In the next instant, The beast is engulfed in an emerald cosmic glow. The energy intensifies, erupting into something magnificent and terrifying. Instantly, the beast is infused with immense green mana abilities, and the look on Chang's face shifts from shock to pure dread. He can feel it instantly. His opponent is on a whole other level now. The entire rulebook for this fight has just been thrown out the window. The difficulty just skyrocketed. And up in the cosmos, the otherworldly spectators are absolutely living for the drama. A system-wide update is about to drop, hardwired directly into the minds of every human. It's a brand new ballgame. Every fighter on the planet needs to gear up for a challenge they never saw coming, because after this interstellar invasion, the rules are about to be rewritten.